Chapter 66. But your highness, their banditry habits and loyalty is a big problem, Hua Rong said worriedly. These people had been bandits for a long time. Most of them would not be used to suddenly using military rules to suppress them. When the time came, they would not only fail to take advantage of the situation, but also suffer a great loss. The most important thing was their loyalty. Would they be willing to obey orders? I have a way, Yi Hao said confidently. The barracks were the best place for these people to return to. Not only could it increase their combat strength, it could also increase their loyalty. As long as they were loyal, everything else would not be a problem. Moreover, Yi Hao had the detection skill. He could tell at a glance whether a person was loyal or not. Seeing Yi Hao's confidence, Hua Rong did not ask any more questions. He believed that if Xiao Di said he had a way, then there must be a way. Which blind fool dares to come to my knife mountain to cause trouble? Not long after, 100 to 200 people rushed out of the small knife mountain and surrounded Yi Hao. The crowd opened up a path, and a middle-aged man walked out with a big knife on his shoulder. He narrowed his eyes and sized up Yi Hao. Where did you come from, kid? Haven't you heard of Master Yang of Hongshan? Leave if you don't want to die. You must be Yang Xiaodao. I'll give you a chance. Follow me and I'll guarantee you a good life. Yi Hao narrowed his eyes and sat on the purple Ming flying horse, looking down at Yang Xiaodao. How dare you? Our leader's nickname is Master Yang of Hongshan. Who is this Yang Xiaodao you're talking about? One of his men stood out and shouted. How do you know my name? Yang Xiaodao stopped his men. He panicked and looked at Yi Hao in confusion. He had never used his name since he came to the mountain. Even his confidants did not know it. Instead, he had always used the nickname Master Yang of Hongshan. I'm indebted to the immortal for teaching me. I know a bit of magic. Yi Hao bragged without thinking. This detection skill could check the information of people and some items. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was a magic. If you want me to submit to you, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Yang Xiaodao was also skeptical, but he did not easily believe Yi Hao. He cautiously looked at Hua Rong. He could feel that Hua Rong was definitely stronger than him. Don't worry, he won't make a move. As long as you can defeat me, just pretend that yours truly never came here today. Yi Hao could see what Yang Xiaodao was worried about and said. This Yang Xiaodao was only a 4th-ranked warrior, while he was a 6th-ranked warrior. He could easily crush him. Alright, if you win, I will enter your Yan Huang city. Yang Xiaodao also said very straightforwardly. Yang Xiaodao also had his own thoughts. If he won, then there was no need for him to join Yi Hao's forces. He believed that Yi Hao would not have the face to let him join his forces, and if he lost, then following Yi Hao might be an opportunity. Don't look at Yang Xiaodao's rough appearance, but within his rough appearance there was finesse. Do your best, First Master. Kill this arrogant brat. First Master will definitely win. When the group of bandits saw that Yang Xiaodao was going to fight with Yi Hao, they all shouted excitedly. They believed that their boss would definitely be able to instantly cut off the head of Yi Hao, this brat who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Hua Rong and the rest retreated to the side. They also believed in Yi Hao's strength. Even the first master of Mount Xiaoyu was easily killed. How weak could his strength be? Bang! The sound of weapons colliding rang out. Not fair, you are using a spiritual weapon. Yang Xiaodao looked at the broken sword in his hand and shouted loudly. He didn't expect that as soon as he rushed up, his long sword would be cut in half by Yi Hao's saber. Although he was surprised by Yi Hao's strength, he believed that Yi Hao's spirit weapon must have taken the most advantage. At the same time, Yang Xiaodao stared at the spiritual weapon in Yi Hao's hand and swallowed his saliva. This was a spiritual weapon. He did not know if he would be able to get one in his lifetime. Now, he finally saw the power of a spiritual weapon. Isn't it just a spiritual weapon? Come, I'll lend you this sword. Yi Hao saw Yang Xiaodao's eager eyes and did not take the spiritual weapon seriously. He took out a rank 1 spiritual weapon from his space and threw it to Yang Xiaodao. This. Yang Xiaodao looked at the spiritual weapon in his hand and was speechless. For a moment, he was absent-minded. He held the spiritual weapon in his arms and stroked the sword with trembling hands. He felt that his breathing had become heavy. This was a spiritual weapon. What was the background of the youth in front of him? From his tone, spiritual weapons were worthless in his eyes. Yang Xiaodao looked at the weapon in his arms and thought quickly. Subordinate Yang Xiaodao greets Master. I will definitely do my best for Master. Yang Xiaodao knelt on the ground and raised the sword with both hands, wanting to return it to Yi Hao. Seeing Yang Xiaodao's actions, Yi Hao's squinted eyes finally opened, revealing a trace of a smile. Just now, his gaze had been on Yang Xiaodao. If Yang Xiaodao had the slightest bit of improper thoughts, Yi Hao would definitely let his head fall to the ground. Ding dong, congratulations on capturing Xiaodao Mountain. Reward: 1 rank 1 spiritual weapon. Currently, Yang Xiaodao's loyalty is 60. Fortunately, Yang Xiaodao made the right choice. This spiritual weapon is for you. Yi Hao didn't think that there would be such a pleasant surprise. He had just subdued Knife Mountain and was rewarded with a spirit weapon. If he subdued all 360 bandits, then wouldn't he obtain 360 spirit weapons? Thank you, Master. Xiaodao will definitely die for Master. Yang Xiaodao was ecstatic. He held the spiritual weapon in his arms like it was a treasure. His loyalty to Yi Hao increased a little. Originally, he was just surrendering, but now it was different. Ding dong, congratulations, Yang Xiaodao's loyalty has increased by 20. Reaching 80 loyalty points, he will not easily betray the host. The system's voice immediately sounded. Yi Hao could not help but sigh. No matter when, benefits were the best way to buy people's hearts. Xiaodao. However, Yi Hao was still not at ease when he reached 80 loyalty points. This was just that he would not easily betray him, but if he wanted to obtain greater benefits, he would still betray him. No matter what, it had to be above 85. This subordinate is here. Yang Xiaodao looked at Yi Hao's smile that was not a smile and could not help but feel a little guilty. Could it be that there was something that he was not satisfied with? I said that I know some immortal arts, but I found that your loyalty is not very high. Yi Hao deliberately said with a long tone. His eyes instantly stared sharply at Yang Xiaodao, and his tone carried an irresistible majesty. Yang Xiaodao was panicked by Yi Hao's words. His forehead was instantly covered with cold sweat. He immediately knelt on the ground. Master, Xiaodao is absolutely loyal to Master. Please understand. Ding dong, congratulations, Yang Xiaodao's loyalty has increased by 3. Ding dong, congratulations, Yang Xiaodao's loyalty has increased by 2. Yi Hao did not expect that this would really work. He was secretly happy. In an instant, Yang Xiaodao's loyalty had reached 85. However, Yi Hao was still not satisfied. He wanted to know if it could be increased a little more. Chapter 67. How can he be so strong? Yang Xiaodao felt that he was being suppressed by the power of martial arts to the point of suffocation. With Yi Hao's skills, he was definitely a genius. Furthermore, he was so generous and had strong guards. He should be the young master or prince of some great power. Yang Xiaodao looked at Yi Hao and kept guessing in his heart. If he followed him, it would definitely be better than being a mountain king in this small place. He might even be able to seize the opportunity to soar into the sky. There was nothing wrong with following him. After all, he had already cast aside life and death from the moment he became a bandit. So what if he gave his rotten life to him? Ding dong, congratulations, Yang Xiaodao's loyalty has increased by 5. Ding dong, congratulations, Yang Xiaodao's loyalty has increased by 5. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for subduing the first 10,000 kingdoms continent. Your loyalty has reached the level of undying followers. You are rewarded with a Gatling gun and unlimited bullet. What, a Gatling gun? Yi Hao did not expect that the system would finally reward him with a hot weapon. Furthermore, it was unlimited bullet. Wouldn't that make him invincible? Yi Hao jumped off the purple cry flying horse and helped Yang Xiaodao up. He instructed Yang Xiaodao, get up. Tell your followers that those who are willing to follow me can stay. Those who are unwilling can leave now. Yes, master. Yang Xiaodao stood up and there was a trace of respect in his eyes. Brothers, I, Yang Xiaodao, will follow the master today. From now on, there will be no more Xiaodao Mountain. Those who are willing to follow me, Yang Xiaodao, I will raise my hand and welcome you. We will still be brothers in the future. Those who are unwilling to leave now, we will still be friends in the future. Yang Xiaodao received Yi Hao's instructions and nodded. He stood on a large rock and shouted. Those who leave will each be given 10 taels of silver as travel expenses. Yi Hao said from the side. After thinking for a while, he said, at the same time, Yanhuang City also welcomes brothers who have no place to stay. They can bring their families and be honest farmers. Yi Hao had his reasons for doing so. If he wanted to build a power, how could he do it without his people? Without his people, he could not collect taxes and there would be no one to farm. He could not always use his own money to support an army. Xiaodao thanks the Lord. Yang Xiaodao heard Yi Hao's words and thanked him from the bottom of his heart. After all, these people were his brothers. If he let them leave just like that, they would have nowhere else to go. At most, they would find another mountain and continue doing their old jobs. But the conditions that Yi Hao offered now were simply giving them a way out. We are willing to continue following boss. We are also willing to follow boss. Most of them agreed to join Yi Hao's team. Only a minority wanted to stay in Yanhuang City for the rest of their lives. They were tired of fighting and killing, but not a single one of them left. Alright, bring everything back to Yanhuang City. Yi Hao did not expect things to go so smoothly. He had subdued a bandit force without losing a single soldier and gained nearly 200 men. Although their strengths were different, they were still martial artists after all. Their physiques and fighting strength were stronger than ordinary people. Yi Hao was not in a hurry. He organized these people and brought them back to Yanhuang City first. Yi Hao still remembered the power behind the boss of MT Xiaoyu. That was why he was so anxious to subdue these bandits. When the time came, if he could gain a few more levels and be able to summon a few Wu Ho realm subordinates, that would be enough. But he was only a 6th-tier martial general now. He was still far from breaking through to Wu Ho realm. At present, it was impossible for him to summon Wu Ho realm subordinate. Let's hope that the barracks will give me a surprise. Yi Hao hoped that the barracks would be built quickly. When the time came, he could send these bandits over for training. Not only could they increase their fighting strength, they could also increase their loyalty. It was the best of both worlds. But I might be thinking too much. Anyway, he is already dead. Whether the family of the boss knows or not is another matter. I'm just worrying over nothing. Yi Hao rode on his horse and threw this worry to the back of his mind. He took out the Gatling gun from his space and looked at it for a while before putting it back. This was a great killing weapon. He just did not know if it would be effective against a martial king realm cultivator. Xiaodao, can you tell me about the distribution of the bandits within 100 li of this place? Yi Hao called out to Yang Xiaodao, who was behind him. Yang Xiaodao rode the only horse of MT Xiaodao to Yi Hao's side. Master, there are more than 300 bandit forces within 100 li of this place. Our MT Xiaodao is only the smallest force. Of course, there is still MT Xiaoyu below, but it has already been destroyed by you. Yang Xiaodao secretly glanced at Yi Hao. He was glad that he had surrendered. He had just found out that MT Xiaoyu had more than 100 people, and they had all been killed by Yi Hao. Not a single one was left alive. Although he did not know how MT Xiaoyu had offended Yi Hao, He knew that although MT Xiaoyu was not as strong as MT Xiaodao, they were about the same. If Yi Hao could silently destroy MT Xiaoyu, then destroying his MT Xiaodao would be easy. When he found out that Hua Rong was a 10th level martial general, he was even more speechless. If he did not know what was good for him at that time, he might have been killed. Yang Xiaodao sighed in his heart. Fortunately, he had made the right decision. I know this. Continue. Yi Hao wanted to understand the power of these bandits. Yang Xiaodao was naturally the best candidate. Yi Hao turned his head and looked at Yang Xiaodao, indicating for him to continue. There is no need to talk about the forces after the 100. The leader of each mountain is around the 3rd level martial general. The only difference is that the people on each mountain are different. They range from 5 to 600 people to 1 to 200 people. The average strength is at the martial warrior level. Of course, on these mountains there are some lone bandit. After all, one person is full and the whole family is not hungry. They live a life where their heads are tied to their waists. How can there be a family? Forces like these are all near Sparrow City and Pool City. Because the strength of these 2 city lords is at the bottom of the 7 nearby cities, everyone has more strength. It is easy to mingle around here. And what I want to talk about are the top 10 bandit forces. Every bandit force's leader has reached the martial marquis realm, and they all have over 1,000 men under their command. And these forces will basically bring some family members. Why don't those cities want to exterminate you? Yi Hao asked, puzzled. Although the radius of 100 miles was nothing compared to the 10,000 kingdoms continent, there were more than 300 bandit forces in this small territory. Yet, these cities did not want to exterminate them. My lord may not know, but these cities are not much different from us. It is just that they have a city. They have not established a country and do not belong to any country. They are too busy protecting themselves. How can they have the time to care about us? As for the Marquiate countries, they do not even have the time to care about this place. Yi Hao understood. The area here was better than the Yi country. The average strength of these bandits was also stronger than the Yi country. These Sparrow City were just wild forces. It was just that the area was different. Their strength was stronger than the surrounding areas of the Yi country. The ones in charge of this area were all Marquiate countries, which were at the same level as the Qian country. Yi Hao guessed that the Qian country was at the bottom of the Marquiate countries. It was unknown whether there were any Marquiate experts. It was just that the area was different, which was why the Qian country was so strong in front of the Yi country. Chapter 68. From the looks of it, Yi country is really weak. Yi Hao blushed with shame. The strongest person in Yi country was only a rank 10 warrior. They didn't even have a single martial general. On the other hand, the bandits here were all martial generals. What are the strength of the top 10 bandits? Yi Hao had already guessed that they might be Wu Ho, but he still asked. Among the top 10 bandits, the great leaders have all reached the Wu Ho realm. The top 3 have all reached the intermediate Wu Ho realm. Yi Hao revealed an as expected expression. He noticed that when Yang Xiaodao mentioned Wu Ho realm, his tone was filled with yearning and anticipation. My lord, we shouldn't provoke them easily, Yang Xiaodao carefully reminded. Although he looked rough on the surface, he was very meticulous. He had already guessed that Yi Hao was asking about this because he wanted to subdue these bandits. Although he didn't know Yi Hao's trump card, he was still worried that Yi Hao was young and frivolous. When the time came, he would suffer a great loss. That was the Wu Ho realm, an existence that could absolutely crush a martial general. Don't worry, I have my own plans. Seeing Yang Xiaodao's worried face, Yi Hao didn't blame Yang Xiaodao and comforted him with a confident expression on his face. His Gatling gun finally had a use. Yang Xiaodao secretly glanced at Yi Hao and saw that Yi Hao's face was full of confidence. Although he didn't know where Yi Hao's confidence came from, he still chose to believe in Yi Hao. At the same time, He was looking forward to what kind of surprise this little lord would bring him. Don't worry, we don't need to think too much about young emperor's matters. Huarong laughed and patted Yang Xiaodao's shoulder. Seeing Yi Hao riding in front, he secretly admired Yi Hao. Young emperor was indeed young emperor. Without spending a single soldier, he seized so much food and even took in so many subordinate. Although the population of Xiaodao Mountain was small, there was indeed a lot of food. However, all of it was stored in the system by Yi Hao. Yang Xiaodao didn't have any objections. In the end, it was his brothers who ate it. Moreover, this bit of food could be exchanged for a good impression of Yi Hao, so it was worth it. Moreover, he had also obtained a spirit weapon. If it wasn't for his lord, he didn't know if he would have been able to obtain a spirit weapon in this lifetime. Thinking of this, Yang Xiaodao quickly took the spirit weapon from his waist. He simply couldn't put it down. His face revealed a satisfied smile, as if no one knew that he had a spirit weapon. He kept bragging to his subordinate. Seeing this, Huarong took out his bow and arrows and coughed twice to attract the attention of his subordinate. At the same time, he looked at Yang Xiaodao proudly. When Yang Xiaodao saw the rank 3 spirit artifact in Huarong's hands, his eyes widened. He swallowed his saliva and whispered enviously, "Humph, isn't it just a rank 3 spirit artifact? Master will reward me with a design sooner or later." Huarong saw the jealousy on Yang Xiaodao's face and became even more proud. He deliberately held the bow in his hand to show off. "If I knew, I wouldn't have shown off." Yang Xiaodao scratched his head. He looked at the long sword in his hand and curled his lips awkwardly. "I will reward you. As long as you perform well in the future, there will be a lot of good things." Yi Hao pulled the reins and said loudly. Yi Hao knew that only by giving them a goal would they have motivation and perform better. "Long live young emperor, our lord! Long live young emperor, our lord!" Everyone shouted in unison. They were also envious of the spiritual weapons in Huarong and Yang Xiaodao's hands. Seeing them show off, they were also envious. Now that they had Yi Hao's promise, their hearts were filled with energy. If they wanted to perform well and get Yi Hao's attention, they would be rewarded with a spiritual weapon and show it off. "Hurry up, we are returning to the city." Yi Hao was very satisfied. After this commotion, everyone had already regarded him as the master in their hearts. This way, he could better manage and train them. He urged the purple cry flying horse. Seeing that the sky was about to turn dark, he ordered everyone. Yi Hao reckoned that the resources needed to build the barracks should be more or less collected. The earlier they built it, the earlier it would be completed. Time was money. He still had 2,000 resurrection points and 4,500 soul points. However, Yi Hao did not continue to summon generals. He did not need them now. What he needed was Wu Ho's martial king. Looks like it is urgent to complete the heart of a strong warrior. Yi Hao thought to himself. It was all his fault for not being able to summon higher-level existences. However, let's solve the mess in front of us first. Due to the stimulation of Yi Hao's spiritual weapon, everyone was so excited that they walked faster. Soon, they returned to Evil Dragon Valley. Yang Xiaodao and a group of subordinates looked at the city in front of them in astonishment. However, their eyes were mixed with fear. Everyone looked at Yi Hao strangely. They looked like they wanted to say something but hesitated. "Master, why are you building a city here?" Yang Xiaodao's expression changed slightly. He recalled a scene a few years ago. A huge monster suddenly appeared in the sky. It could destroy a mountain in a breath. That night, countless people were swallowed alive. However, no one could resist. They could only stand there and wait for death. The evil dragon's aura pressed down on them, making them unable to move. Fortunately, the evil dragon did not kill everyone. It plunged into the lake of Evil Dragon Valley. Originally, there was a capital in Evil Dragon Valley. The emperor was a peak expert of Wu Ho. The 7 cities in a 100-mile radius originally belonged to his country. However, they were destroyed by the evil dragon in an instant. In front of the evil dragon, the peak of Wu Ho was like an ant. Therefore, from then on, this place was renamed Evil Dragon Valley. The remaining 7 cities were also separated, forming independent forces. While fearing the Evil Dragon Valley, Yang Xiaodao was also surprised at how Yi Hao was able to build a city without making a sound. Don't worry. The evil dragon hasn't come out for so many years. It shouldn't come out for a while. Yi Hao knew what Yang Xiaodao was worried about, but there was nothing he could do. The city had already been built here, and it was difficult to stop for a while. He could only attack and occupy a new city. At the same time, Yi Hao was also very curious. What did the evil dragon look like? If possible, he might as well be a dragon slayer. Yang Xiaodao hesitated for a moment before following Yi Hao into the city. You will move around in the city in the future. Without my permission, you are not allowed to enter the valley. Yi Hao instructed everyone. Yi Hao first arranged for everyone to stay in the city. After all, the barracks had not been built yet. He found that there were still many people, and their loyalty was not very high. After making the arrangements, he asked Hua Rong to arrange for everyone's accommodations. He walked into the valley alone. System, I want to build a barracks. Yi Hao pointed at a large pile of materials in front of him. He took out the blueprints of the barracks and said to the system, Ding dong, the construction of the archery barracks begins. Time, 24 hours. Ding dong, the construction of the special barracks begins. Time, 24 hours. Chapter 69. After Yi Hao finished setting up the barracks, he did not stay idle. After dinner, he brought Hua Rong and Yang Xiaodao out of the Evil Dragon Valley and headed straight for the weakest bandit lair. Under Yi Hao's threats and promises, another 3 bandit lairs submitted to him obediently. After bringing everyone back to Yan Huang City, it was not unknown that the number of soldiers had reached the 1,000 mark. After Yi Hao killed a few people with single-digit loyalty points and evil intentions, the loyalty of the majority of the people had skyrocketed. In the last 1,000 people, none of them had a loyalty point lower than 60. The leaders of the few mountain strongholds all had loyalty points above 80. Only then did Yi Hao stop. The night passed just like that. Early the next morning, Yi Hao led 1,000 people and set off towards the other mountain stronghold. This time, it was even smoother. Most of the bandits were scared out of their wits when they saw so many people and surrendered immediately. However, after a day, Yi Hao only managed to conquer 5 mountain strongholds. The number of people had reached 2,000. Among them, there were also some family members who were directly brought back to Yan Huang City by Yi Hao. After arranging accommodation for them, the majority of the people were bursting with loyalty. However, after Yi Hao went out to battle in such a grandiose manner, many bandits had already received the news. The bigger bandits did not think much of it, but the smaller bandits immediately banded together to resist Yi Hao. After a day and a night, Yi Hao counted his gains. He had collected a pile of rations, gold, silver, and jewelry. The number of soldiers under him had also reached 2,000. They were all strong men with an average level of level 5 martial warrior. There were fewer level 5 martial warriors and above. As for the general level subordinates, he had increased another 15. They were all below level 5 martial general. Yi Hao paid special attention to these people. Every one of them had a loyalty point of 85 and above. Only then could he rest assured that they would control the troop. To make things easier, Yi Hao had each of his generals lead 100 soldiers. These generals would all listen to him. He also assigned 500 soldiers to Zhang Zhu to train and guard the city. As for the 100 peak stage martial artists that he had summoned, they would be led by Hua Rong. They would be responsible for his safety. Everything was arranged properly, but when Yi Hao saw the equipment on everyone's bodies, he couldn't help but complain. His men were still all right as they had the equipment he had given them. These bandits, on the other hand, were all in tatters. None of them had a complete set of equipment. The weapons in their hands were also scrap metal. "Looks like I'll have to buy some equipment." How could Yi Hao bear to see his subordinates dressed like beggars? If he took them out, he would lose face and it would greatly affect his combat effectiveness. Ding dong, congratulations on the completion of the archery unit. Current level 1. Ding dong, congratulations on building the spear battalion. Current level 1. Ding dong, congratulations on building the cavalry tassel. Current level 1. While Yi Hao was waiting, the system notification finally rang out. Yi Hao couldn't wait to rush into the valley. In a corner of the mountain valley there were 3 stone houses. Each house was milky white and carved with strange ancient runes. They gave off a feeling of great vicissitude. Yi Hao walked in and saw that at the top of each house there were several virtual characters that only he could see. The words above were the types of soldiers in the barracks, as well as the levels of the barrack. Currently, all the barracks were level 1. They could accommodate 1,000 people to train at the same time. The training time was self-selected. It was divided into 8 hours, 16 hours, and 24 hours. The barracks had their own space. They would simulate some battlefields and let these soldiers participate in life and death training. The barracks could increase a soldier's innate talent and allow the soldier's level to increase randomly. However, the barracks were only level 1 and could only accommodate soldiers below the rank of Marshal General. Furthermore, after the soldiers' training, they couldn't divulge the secrets of the barracks. If they did, they would immediately die. The barracks would enter the soldier's mind. As for summoning soldiers, at the current level, they could only summon martial warrior soldiers. However, they didn't need soul points or resurrection points. This made Yi Hao somewhat surprised. To summon soldiers, the barracks required gold, food, and wood. At the same time, the barracks could also be upgraded. However, it required soul points or resurrection points. After the barracks were upgraded, the training space would increase and the level of the summoned soldiers would also increase. To upgrade a level 1 barracks to level 2, it required 100 reputation points or soul points. It also required wood, food, gold, and stone. Yi Hao naturally wanted to upgrade immediately. However, he didn't have any stone or wood. He could only continue to let his subordinates cut wood and quarry stones. However, Yi Hao didn't plan to touch the resources in Evil Dragon Valley. This was because if he continued to cut wood, the valley would really be empty. Thus, he brought a group of subordinates and ran to another mountain to cut down trees. Although no one knew why Yi Hao was cutting down so many trees, there was strength in numbers. With over 2,000 people working together, the materials were quickly collected. This time, the upgrade would take 3 days. Of course, Yi Hao wouldn't waste time. He brought a group of soldiers and continued to fight. After destroying another 2 bandit factions, the number of people increased to 3,000. This was because many factions knew that Yi Hao was constantly attacking them. Many of them had joined forces. However, under the pressure of Yi Hao's 2,000-strong army, they could only surrender unconditionally. This matter finally reached the ears of the Sparrow Demon. Previously, he had sent people to investigate Yi Hao. However, the results were fruitless. This made him worried and afraid for a few days. He was afraid that the faction behind Yi Hao would find trouble with him. However, after waiting for a few days, no one came to find trouble with him. This made him very regretful. If he had known, he would have taken action directly in the city. Now, he had lost 2 generals for nothing. The power of Sparrow City had shrunk rapidly. Just as he was able to relax, he suddenly heard that a bandit faction had appeared in his territory. It was called Yan Huang City. They had continuously broken through more than 10 mountain strongholds. The number of soldiers under them had reached about 3,000. They were already catching up to his Sparrow City. The Sparrow Demon felt a huge threat. If it continued to develop, the one that would be destroyed would be his Sparrow City. In his heart, he had a vague feeling that it was related to that brat from the other day. If that was really the case, the Sparrow Demon couldn't help but be impressed by Yi Hao. He could continuously subdue so many bandits. One had to know that even he didn't dare to do anything to these bandits for such a long time. He was afraid that if he angered them, they would join forces to attack him. The Sparrow Demon played with the jade thumb ring in his hand. He kept pacing around the living room. In his mind, he was constantly thinking of countermeasures. Men! The Sparrow Demon sat on a chair, picked up a teacup, and shouted to the guard. Seeing the guard, the Sparrow Demon's eyes were filled with killing intent as he ordered, "Go and send a message to Yan Huang City. If he surrenders to my Sparrow City, I will spare his life. Otherwise, I will send my soldiers to the city tomorrow and massacre Yan Huang City." The Sparrow Demon's tone was filled with confidence and arrogance. His face was filled with arrogance as if he didn't care about Yan Huang City at all. This was because in his eyes, Yan Huang City was just a bunch of disorganized bandits. How could they compare to the 3,000 soldiers that he had trained? Chapter 70. Men. Seeing that his subordinates had left, the Sparrow Demon was still worried. His personality was that he would do whatever he wanted to do. He would be prepared for everything. Borrowing the hands of others, he would reap the benefit. The Sparrow Demon was cunning and resourceful. That was why it was able to live well among the 7 cities, even though it was the weakest of them all. Since this is a great opportunity, how can I, the Sparrow Demon, not cherish it? The Sparrow Demon smiled sinisterly. Go and invite all the bandit factions in the vicinity. Tell them that if they don't want to be swallowed up by Yan Huang City, they should obediently come and discuss countermeasures with me, the city lord. Seeing his subordinate enter, the Sparrow Demon's sinister smile disappeared, and he instructed sternly. The Sparrow Demon wanted to sit back and watch the tigers fight. Naturally, both sides had to send people to rope them in. He knew that the bandits would definitely side with him. Now it was up to Yan Huang City to decide. If Yan Huang City chose to side with him, then things would be easy. He would join forces with Yan Huang City to wipe out all the bandits. If Yan Huang City rejected, then he would join forces with the bandits to destroy Yan Huang City first. After which, he would destroy the bandits himself. No matter how the plot developed, it would be beneficial to him. The Sparrow Demon thought that his plan was flawless. However, his opponent was Yi Hao. If it were anyone else, they would definitely lose. But Yi Hao... Ding dong, do you want to upgrade the army camp? Yes. Yi Hao finished collecting the resources and immediately chose to upgrade the army camp. However, the soldiers could not be left idle. Yi Hao sent all of them out to collect stones and wood in case of an emergency. Huarong saw that everyone had been sent out by Yi Hao. He stood on the city wall and asked, "Young Emperor, are we not attacking the stronghold today?" Yi Hao turned to look at Huarong and said with a smile, "There's no hurry. These bandits are prepared. We should rest and reorganize." Everything went smoothly for the past 2 days. Other than killing a few ignorant people, they did not spend much effort. However, Yi Hao knew that things wouldn't be so easy in the future. Those large factions wouldn't just watch him grow, and the smaller factions might even band together to resist him. This was also why he was in a hurry to upgrade the barrack. "Have you sent out all the soldiers I asked you to send out?" "They've all sent out, young emperors. They'll guard Sparrow City's movements closely." Hearing Yi Hao's question, Huarong hurriedly answered. However, there was a hint of confusion on his face. "Xiao Di, do you think the Sparrow Demon will really do something? It's always better to be safe than sorry." Yi Hao rubbed his chin and looked in the direction of Sparrow City, feeling a little worried. "Young Emperor, look, someone's coming." Huarong's ears twitched, and he suddenly looked into the distance. At the same time, he took out his bow and arrow. Judging by their speed, It seems like they're riding horses. There's quite a number of them. Yi Hao looked up and saw the dust in the distance. Close the city gates and see what's going on. Yi Hao guessed that they were probably from Sparrow City, but they could also be spies that he had sent out. Hearing Yi Hao's order, the soldiers standing on the city walls were all ready. Each of them had a bow and arrow. These were bought by Yi Hao in Sparrow City. Young Emperor, they don't seem to be our people. Huarong quickly made a judgment when he saw their attire. As he was the one who sent them out, it was impossible for them to be fully equipped, and there were so many of them. Looks like they're from a powerful background. Yi Hao looked at the dozen or so people in front of him and pursed his lip. Looking at their equipment, Yi Hao could tell that they were from Sparrow City. He had killed many people from Sparrow City back then, and their equipment was still in his space. Young Emperor, what should we do? Seeing that there were only a dozen or so people, Huarong let down his guard. However, he kept his bow and was ready to attack at any time. All of you, listen up. Shoot accurately later. Except for the leader, kill everyone else. Don't hurt the horses. Yi Hao thought for a moment and ordered his men beside him. Yi Hao had already formed a grudge with the Sparrow Demon. Therefore, he had no qualms. If he didn't come to find trouble with him, he would have killed him. When the soldiers heard Yi Hao's order, they immediately drew their bows and hid their heads under the city walls, waiting for Yi Hao's orders. Big brother, that's Yen something city in front, right? A dozen or so guards from Sparrow City shouted when they saw Yan Huang City. It should be. The leader looked at the city in front and replied loudly. Then big brother, we're in someone else's territory. Should we be more careful? Another subordinate shouted worriedly. What's there to be afraid of? When two countries are at war, they won't kill the envoys. Besides, we're not at war. Besides, they're just a mob, a bunch of bandits. When they hear that we're from Sparrow City, they'll be scared witless and crawl out to greet us. Perhaps there'll be benefits waiting for us brothers. The leader's tone was full of disdain. He didn't care about Yan Huang City at all and laughed loudly. Ah! The group of people thought that the leader's words made sense. Their arrogant laughter reverberated in the valley. Laugh. You'll be laughing later. Yi Hao heard the laughter from afar and said coldly. There was even a hint of playfulness in his tone. Soon, the dozen or so people arrived at the bottom of the city walls. Yi Hao whispered a few words in Huarong's ear. He sneered and retreated to the back, not letting the people below see him. The dozen or so people were arrogant and looked down on everyone. They didn't say anything and waited for Huarong to speak first. They wanted to steal the show. Of course, Huarong wouldn't spoil them and ignored them. He lowered his head and stared blankly, as if he didn't see them at all. Yi Hao looked at Huarong's performance from behind and laughed secretly. However, he had already raised his hand slowly. The archer's eyes were fixed on Yi Hao's hand. The people of Sparrow City were very embarrassed and didn't know what to do. They wanted to show off their power, but they were treated like air. A few of the subordinates secretly looked at the leader. The leader's face turned cold, but he had no choice. He had to complete the task given by the city lord. He nodded impatiently and signaled to the subordinate beside him to make the announcement. When the subordinate saw the leader's signal, he immediately urged his horse forward and said arrogantly, "City walls, Xiao." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, a long arrow with the aura of death flew towards his head. The guard reacted quickly and immediately rolled off his horse. He rolled a few times and narrowly avoided the arrow. The dozen or so people were shocked. The horses under them were also shocked and neighed. The dozen or so people immediately pulled out their weapons to defend themselves. Release the arrows. When Yi Hao heard the neighing of the horses, he pressed his hand down and said calmly. Chapter 71. Brothers, get out of the way. Seeing the arrows flying towards him, the leader shouted with a ferocious expression. The arrogance on his face had long disappeared. He quickly dismounted from his horse, wanting to use his horse to block the arrows. He kept waving the long sword in his hand, knocking away some of the arrows. "Help! Have mercy!" Many people were scared out of their wit. They knelt on the ground and begged for mercy like stray dogs. They no longer had any arrogance left. Other than wanting to live, they did not want to do anything else. With Yi Hao's order, the soldiers did not pity them at all. They kept shooting arrows at those who were kneeling on the ground and resisting. Although these soldiers had not undergone training in the barracks, they were all strictly selected by Yi Hao from the various mountain strongholds. They all had a certain foundation in archery, or were talented in archery. Under Huarong's merciless imparting of his experience, although the time was short, everyone had made great progress. Although they could not hit their target every time, this short distance was enough for the Sparrow City's guards to suffer. Other than the leader, the rest of them were all shot into a hornet's nest. "Stop shooting." Seeing that most of them were dead, Huarong said under Yi Hao's signal. The archers quickly stopped shooting. Looking at the guards who were shot into a sieve, the soldiers all let out a sigh of relief. They looked very relaxed. Because they were bandits in the past and in the area of Sparrow City, they had never been looked down upon by the Sparrow City's soldiers. Every time they entered the city, they would be caught and skinned alive. They had never thought that one day, they would be able to openly shoot the people of Sparrow City and make them unable to fight back. But a few people thought of the strength of Sparrow City. Many of the soldiers were worried and looked at Yi Hao. They wanted to know what the young emperor wanted to do. Now that they had killed the bandits and vented their anger, they could only follow the young emperor's orders. "Who are you?" Huarong pretended to be confused and asked. I am from Sparrow City. I am here to deliver a letter to my master." The leader looked at the corpses on the ground. A second ago they were still talking and laughing. Now they were separated by life and death. He just wanted to go back and let his master teach these arrogant bandits a lesson. But at this moment, he was still in shock. He was afraid that someone would shoot again. He put on a flattering expression and spoke carefully. At the same time, he was on guard. "Oh, so you are from Sparrow City's master. Why didn't you say so earlier? What should we do?" Huarong patted the city wall with both hands and asked with a regretful expression on his face. He sighed and asked. The leader's expression froze, and he looked at Huarong in confusion. He didn't know what Huarong was up to. Why did he have such an attitude? The leader frowned and thought about it. At the same time, he cursed Huarong 10,000 times in his heart. "Did you let me speak? My people just said 2 words and you killed them all. Of his. You. Without my orders, who allowed you to shoot?" Huarong pretended to be angry and scolded the soldiers. The soldiers were puzzled. They secretly looked at Yi Hao. Yi Hao winked at the soldiers. The soldiers immediately understood what was going on. They held back their laughter and lowered their heads. The leader was even more puzzled. What was going on? "I'm sorry, brother. You probably know that my subordinates are all bandit. When the bandits saw that you were wearing military uniforms, they were afraid and accidentally shot the wrong arrow," Huarong said apologetically after he finished lecturing the soldiers. "This is all because I did not teach them well. I hope brother will not blame me." Huarong put on a regretful expression. He took all the responsibility and cupped his fist apologetically to the leader. The leader was stunned. He looked at Huarong and thought to himself, could it be that it is as he said? These bandits shot the wrong arrow? If that is the case, there should be a chance to do what the mayor asked me to do. As long as it is done, a few people will die. Humph. Seeing Huarong's humble attitude towards him, the leader made up his mind. He deliberately snorted a few times and stood up from the back of the horse. He tidied up his military uniform, trying to regain his lost face and show off his power. Whoosh! Suddenly, an arrow shot to the bottom of his feet. What do you want? The leader jumped up in fright again. He immediately hid behind the horse and asked nervously. Huarong secretly glanced at Yi Hao. When he saw the bow in Yi Hao's hand, he knew what was going on. When he saw the leader hiding behind the horse in a panic, a smile flashed across his face. However, he immediately stopped smiling. He looked apologetic again. Brother, come out. It is an insensible soldier. He held the bow in his hand for a long time and loosened the string. Tell your men to put away their bows and arrows. The leader patted his pounding chest and shouted loudly. They are already put away. Huarong looked down on people like the leader. He was as timid as a mouse and still wanted to act arrogant. Only a young emperor could defeat him. He could not do anything about it. The leader carefully peeked out from behind the horse. When he saw that the bow was really put away, he finally dared to walk out. I am really sorry, Huarong said apologetically again. After Huarong used both the carrot and the stick, the leader could not figure out Huarong's attitude. He wanted to blame him but did not dare to. Forget it, I'll just tell them the truth. Right now, the most important thing is for me to leave this place and let the city lord make the decision. The leader thought to himself. He didn't want to put on airs anymore because he had already lost everything. Brother, may I know why you are here? Huarong asked under Yi Hao's signal. When Huarong saw Yi Hao take out another arrow, he secretly prayed for the leader below. Yi Hao had already guessed why the demon sparrow sent people here. Other than asking him to submit, Yi Hao could not think of anything else. However, if the demon sparrow wants to play, I will play with him. Yi Hao smiled like a little fox. Using the arrow to aim at the leader's head a few times, he pulled the bowstring a few times, then put away the bow and arrow. If the leader was going to die, then it wouldn't be fun. Just now, after killing more than 10 people, Yi Hao's soul points increased by more than 300 points. However, Yi Hao was not in a hurry to summon them. Currently, summoning martial artists or generals was not of much use, unless it was summoning a martial marquis or even a martial king. However, martial generals required 1,000 soul points or resurrection points. Who knew how many martial marquis or martial kings would require? Chapter 72. Therefore, Yi Hao couldn't wait to complete the Heart of an Expert mission. If he could activate the leveling system, he wouldn't have to worry about cultivation anymore. However, he still had to solve the problem at hand. At the very least, he had to subdue all the bandits and build an army. After all, this was his first territory in the Xingwu continent. He had to develop it well. I am here on the orders of the city lord to recruit all of you. May I know where your city lord is? The guard cupped his fists and spoke respectfully when he mentioned the sparrow demon. At the same time, he was looking at the city walls. This was because he didn't know what the city lord of Yan Huang City looked like and didn't know that the city lord was Yi Hao. If the sparrow demon knew that the city lord of Yan Huang City was Yi Hao, he definitely wouldn't send people to recruit. He would definitely lead his troops to attack Yan Huang City directly. This was also why the sparrow demon had asked him to check if there was a child in Yan Huang City before he left. I am the city lord. Huarong pointed at himself and said without hesitation. You! The leader pointed at Huarong in surprise and asked in a doubtful tone. He couldn't believe that the person in front of him was the city lord of Yan Huang City. Why? Is there anything wrong? Huarong's expression turned ugly as he questioned loudly. No, I am just a little surprised. The leader knew that he had lost his composure and quickly apologized. He was pleasantly surprised. If Huarong was the city lord, it should be easy to talk to him. I see. However, I don't know what benefits the city lord of Sparrow Demon City will give us. Huarong revealed an I see expression. His expression turned serious, and he wasn't as easy to talk to as before. This. The leader was extremely embarrassed because the Sparrow Demon didn't mention anything about benefit. Moreover, the Sparrow Demon's attitude was very firm. He didn't dare to say it out loud. If he angered them and they shot arrows again, he would be finished. Seeing the leader's expression, Huarong snorted and his tone became sarcastic. Could it be that the city lord of Sparrow Demon City thinks that Yan Huang City is easy to bully and wants to gain something without any benefits? Why should I submit to you? If that's the case, please leave. Huarong made a gesture to chase him away and was about to leave. City lord, please wait. Seeing that Huarong was really going to leave, the leader became anxious. If Huarong really left, he would not be able to report back. Moreover, he was the only one left among the group of subordinate. When he returned, the city lord would definitely not let him off easily. However, through observation, he realized that Huarong's attitude was not that unyielding. It was not impossible to subdue Yan Huang City. The main thing was that these bandits wanted benefits. These were not things that he had to consider. As long as he could bring back Yan Huang City's attitude, this mission would be completed. What's the matter? Is there anything else? Huarong's face showed a dissatisfied expression. Her tone became cold and impatient. City Lord, this is all my fault for coming here in a hurry. Please state your conditions, City Lord. I will definitely return and report it to my lord. Seeing Huarong's attitude, the commander did not dare to fuss over it. He revealed a fawning smile on his face. I don't have any conditions. If you want me to join you, it's not impossible. My brothers will be your family in the future. My conditions aren't high. 3,000 sets of equipment. Not even a single piece less. Huarong's tone was unyielding. This needs to be reported to my lord first. When the commander heard Huarong's conditions, he sucked in a breath of cold air. This was really an exorbitant demand. Then please report it quickly. If the city lord of Sparrow City agrees, send 3,000 sets of equipment to me tomorrow. Yan Huang City will belong to Sparrow City from then on. Otherwise, we will fight to the death. We will never submit. Then I will take my leave first. May I trouble the city lord to collect the bodies of my brothers. Don't let the wolves, tigers, and leopards ruin them. I will send someone to collect them. You don't have to worry about that. After a simple conversation between the two, the commander immediately galloped away. Seeing the commander leave, Huarong looked at Yi Hao with a trace of doubt. Young Emperor, do you think they will really send the equipment? Why do I feel that it is impossible? It was no wonder that Huarong did not believe it. The people who came to deliver the letter were all killed. Moreover, they did not seem to want to give any benefit. Otherwise, they would not have come with benefit. Moreover, they were so arrogant. How could the other party give 3,000 sets of equipment? Do you really think that I will submit to Sparrow City? Yi Hao looked at Huarong and asked. Is that not the case? Huarong frowned and looked at Yi Hao with a puzzled expression. I will definitely destroy Sparrow City. It is just a small city. How dare they think that I will submit to them? Dream on. Young Emperor, what do you mean? Whether they give us the equipment or not, we will not submit to them. If they give us the equipment, we will benefit. If they don't, we will not lose anything. Huarong's eyes lit up and looked at Yi Hao with admiration. Get your men to gather all the trees and stones that they have collected over the past 2 days and bring them to the city wall. Prepare for battle at any time. Yi Hao did not expect to face Sparrow City so soon. In terms of numbers, he did not lose to Sparrow City. However, his overall army was not as good as Sparrow City's. After all, Sparrow City had a proper army. Every soldier was strictly selected. How could his stragglers defeat them? However, Yi Hao was not afraid of him. His generals were much stronger than Sparrow City's. If he could finish upgrading the barracks before this, he would not have to wait for Sparrow Demon to bring his men over. He would bring his men over. Young Emperor, our men are back. Yi Hao heard Hua Rong's excited voice just as he was about to walk down the city wall. Open the city gates. Soon, a man in ordinary clothes rode a horse into the city. He quickly got off his horse and climbed up the city wall. Greetings, young emperor. Greetings, commander. The man quickly knelt on the ground and greeted Yi Hao and Hua Rong respectfully. Get up quickly. Is there any movement in Sparrow City? Yi Hao helped the man up and asked calmly. Reporting to young emperor, Sparrow Demon asked his men to gather the leaders of dozens of mountain strongholds for a banquet. Their movements are not clear yet. Huarong, what do you think? Yi Hao touched his chin and looked at Huarong thoughtfully. This subordinate believes that the demon Sparrow wants to join forces with those bandits to attack us. Huarong immediately analyzed. However, I don't think that Sparrow Demon's plan will work. If the bandits were so easy to ally with, there wouldn't be so many of them. No, that was in the past. Yi Hao smiled and waved his hand. He said confidently, now that we are here, those bandits will definitely ally with Sparrow Demon if they want to protect themselves. Then why are they doing this? They are here to ask us to surrender. Huarong did not know what was going on. She cupped her fist and asked for instructions. In her opinion, Sparrow Demon could just ally with the bandits and attack them. Why did they have to come to subdue them? Chapter 73. This person is really cunning. Hearing Yi Hao's analysis, Huarong was shocked and his expression changed slightly. If what the young emperor said was true, he could imagine how cunning this person was. Just wait and see. Tomorrow, the Sparrow Demon will send 3,000 pieces of equipment over, Yi Hao said confidently. How could Yi Hao not know what the Sparrow Demon was thinking? The Sparrow Demon did not want to see him grow stronger. He wanted him to fight with the bandits while he watched from the sidelines. However, how could Yi Hao let him have his way so easily? With this city around, he did not know who would be the one at a disadvantage. How could he be afraid of a small sparrow city? Huarong. Yi Hao was thinking of a plan in his heart. He felt that this was a good opportunity to get rid of the Sparrow City in one fell swoop. The Sparrow Demon thought that he had him, so how could he not put on a show with the Sparrow Demon? That would be letting down the Sparrow Demon's good intentions. Yi Hao told Huarong the plan in his heart. Huarong nodded repeatedly and remembered everything Yi Hao said in his heart. He quickly went to discuss it with Zhang Zhu. After giving his instructions, Yi Hao was about to carry out his plan. He rode his purple cry Pegasus and left. City Lord, the leader is back. Call him in quickly. The Sparrow Demon was just about to invite the bandits to a banquet when he heard his subordinate's report. He immediately summoned his subordinate. Greetings, City Lord. How is the situation? Did Yan Huang City agree? Oh right, where are your subordinates? The Sparrow Demon asked hurriedly. However, when he saw the leader's face covered in dust, he frowned and guessed that the situation was not good. The leader peeked at the Sparrow Demon and quickly knelt on the ground, trembling as he said, My brothers are all dead. Be ****. Bang! The Sparrow Demon's face darkened. He stood up abruptly and smashed the tree and table beside him into pieces. He could not understand how Yan Huang City dared to not give him face. That was fine, but they dared to kill his men and provoke him. This group of damn bandits really did not know what was good for them. The demon Sparrow's anger was completely ignited. His face was so gloomy that it was about to drip water. The aura of a martial general suddenly exuded from his body, revealing a strong murderous intent. City Lord, please listen to what I have to say. This is a misunderstanding. The leader hurriedly explained when he saw the Sparrow Demon's expression and knew that the Sparrow Demon wanted to kill him. Misunderstanding? The Sparrow Demon frowned and looked at the leader in confusion. Tell me quickly. The leader hurriedly explained the situation to the Demon of Sparrows. The Demon of Sparrows listened with a doubtful expression and said, You're saying that these damn bandits want 3,000 sets of equipment before they surrender? That's right, and I found out that they did build a city, but those bandits were very timid. It was obvious that they hadn't undergone formal training. The leader told him everything he knew and guessed. All right, go and collect 3,000 sets of equipment for them. Also, help me deliver a letter to them. Sparrow Demon gritted his teeth. City Lord, you're really giving them? The leader asked with a pained expression. These 3,000 sets of equipment were the entire inventory of the Sparrow City. Who knew how much effort it took to get them? He could not understand why the City Lord would be so generous. Was he not afraid of falling into the trap of those bandits? Looking at the leader's curious gaze, the Demon of Sparrows laughed loudly. Are you worried that I'll fall into their trap? The leader did not say anything and only nodded his head in agreement. They're just a group of bandits. Even if we give them equipment, how much can their battle strength increase? If they agree to join me without any conditions, I'll be suspicious. Moreover, after tomorrow, there will be no more Yan Huang City. If we give them the equipment, it's equivalent to them being in our hands. We just have to watch them kill each other. Speaking of which, Yan Huang City has also solved a huge problem that has been bothering me for many years. The Demon of Sparrows clasped his hands behind his back. It was rare for him to show off in front of his subordinates and reveal his entire plan. City Lord is wise. The leader immediately stood up and flattered him. After you go, stay behind in Yan Huang City and cooperate with the battle tomorrow to prevent those bandits from playing any trick. However, from what I see, those damn bandits won't dare to play any tricks. The Demon of Sparrows smiled happily and the gloominess on his face disappeared without a trace. I understand. Late at night, the sky was dotted with stars. The dark mountain was so quiet that it was frightening. Yi Hao carefully flipped over and entered a bandit stronghold. He quickly searched for the stronghold leader's room. Perhaps the chief of the stronghold didn't believe that anyone could sneak into his stronghold, so the defense of the stronghold was very lax. There wasn't even a guard at the entrance of the chief's residence, and the door was only half closed. This group of bandits, aren't they courting death? Yi Hao looked at the stronghold's defense and muttered in his heart. However, this was more beneficial to his plan. Yi Hao held the knife in his hand and swaggered into the room. The smell of alcohol hit him in the face. Yi Hao wrinkled his nose and locked the door. He walked to the bed and looked at the burly bandit on the bed. He was still sleeping soundly and did not seem to realize that he was only a step away from death. Yi Hao was a little speechless. This guy did not even have the slightest bit of vigilance. How could he have lived for so long? Seeing that he had reached the 4th level of a martial general, he was not considered low. Yi Hao used the back of the knife and gently patted the bandit's face. Stop fooling around. The bandit touched his face and flipped over. Suddenly, the bandit felt the coldness on his face. He opened his eyes instantly and saw Yi Hao sitting by his bed with a knife in his hand. He could already feel the cold aura of the knife on his neck. He did not doubt that Yi Hao could take his life at any time. Hello. Yi Hao saw the bandit open his eyes and greeted him. Hello, hello. Although Li Jin did not know what hello meant, he still followed Yi Hao and said it. Young master, please spare my life. Young master, please spare my life. Let's talk nicely. Li Jin panted heavily and looked at Yi Hao. At the same time, he was thinking of countermeasures. I heard that the demon sparrow invited you to drink. Yi Hao stared at Li Jin and asked. He had been waiting here for a long time. This Li Jin was one of the bandits allied with the demon sparrow. Young master, how did you know? Li Jin did not know who Yi Hao was and asked carefully. Don't worry about how I know. Now I will give you 2 choices. 1. Surrender to me. 2. Become a ghost under my knife. Yi Hao did not want to talk nonsense with Li Jin and went straight to the point. This is easy. Young master, put down the knife first. Let's sit down and discuss. Li Jin sneered in his heart. A child wanted him to surrender. If it was not for the knife on his neck, he would have killed him. However, a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Li Jin pretended to give in. He wanted Yi Hao to put down the knife and then capture Yi Hao. Okay. Yi Hao put down the knife in his hand. Li Jin breathed a sigh of relief and quickly went to the side of the bed. However, after searching for a long time, he could not find it. His expression changed. Are you looking for this? Chapter 74. Seems like you are not being honest. Yi Hao put the knife to Li Jin's neck again. Isn't it awkward that your weapon is in my hands? Yi Hao asked cheekily. Don't please spare my life. Li Jin's face darkened. He did not expect Yi Hao to be so cunning as to take away his weapon. I don't know. Who are you? Li Jin saw that Yi Hao did not really want to kill him, so he quickly got up from the bed and asked carefully. Yan Huang City's city lord. Yi Hao did not take Li Jin seriously at all. He kept his weapon, walked to the chair and sat down. How is that possible? Didn't they say that the Yan Huang City's city lord was a man who was 9 feet tall, looked like a demon from hell, and was extremely cruel? Li Jin revealed a shocked expression. He did not believe Yi Hao at all. The Yan Huang City's city lord had conquered more than 10 mountain strongholds in less than 3 days. He had close to 20 generals under his command. No matter what, he had to be a strong man with extraordinary skills. Li Jin could not connect Yi Hao and the Yan Huang City's city lord together. He looked at Yi Hao suspiciously. Stop. What you said must have been made up by the sparrow demon. Yi Hao quickly stopped Li Jin's words. He was afraid that if he continued, he would really become a ghost. What the hell was this? How did you know? Li Jin was stunned. Humph, if he didn't scare you, why would you be willing to be his tool? Yi Hao sneered. Make your choice quickly. Old Hao, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Yi Hao saw that it was getting late. He still had to go to a few mountain strongholds and could not waste time here. He asked impatiently. Are you really the city lord of Yan Huang City? Li Jin still did not believe and asked tentatively. Yi Hao did not explain to Li Jin and directly revealed his cultivation level. No matter how he explained, it would be useless if the other party did not believe him. In this world, the strong were respected. One's cultivation level was the best proof. So strong. Sensing Yi Hao's aura, Li Jin's expression changed. In his heart, he believed Yi Hao's words a little. No matter what, he had to get through this trial first. At most, he would lie to Yi Hao and send him away. Li Jin made up his mind. When Yi Hao left, he would quickly inform the Sparrow Demon. When the Sparrow Demon arrived at Yan Huang City, he would see what he could do. I choose to rely on you. Really? The corner of Yi Hao's eyes twitched as he looked at Li Jin. I would not dare to lie. Li Jin was confused. I forgot to tell you. I learned a little bit of celestial arts from my family. I can tell what a person's loyalty and inner thoughts are at a glance. Yi Hao played with the large saber in his hand and pressed forward step by step, speaking indifferently. If it was someone else, they might have believed and understood. However, Yi Hao had the system. Just now, when Li Jin agreed, his favorable impression of Yi Hao decreased instead of increasing. In his heart, Li Jin had already treated Yi Hao as an enemy. How could that be? Li Jin smiled and observed Yi Hao's expression. He guessed that Yi Hao was fooling him. Are you thinking of going to the Sparrow Demon after I leave? Then I won't be able to do anything to you. Yi Hao saw Li Jin's expression turn ugly and knew that he guessed right. This. Li Jin looked at Yi Hao with fear in his eyes. He did not expect Yi Hao to be able to read minds. Didn't that mean that Yi Hao knew all his thoughts? It seemed that if he did not make a choice, he would really die today. I'll give you 1 more minute to consider. Once the minute is up, you don't have to say anything. I will make my own judgment. If your loyalty is not high, then you will still die. Yi Hao stopped laughing and his face became very cold. He retreated to the side to give Li Jin time to consider. He had given him a chance. It was up to him whether he wanted to take it or not. If he did not agree, Yi Hao did not mind adding some soul points. Anyway, there were many people in the village. At most, he could summon a subordinate and eat a disguise pill to turn him into Li Jin. However, it was not as cost-effective as directly taking in a subordinate. After all, killing a martial general would only give him ordinary soul points. Moreover, he was indeed lacking martial generals. Yi Hao had a feeling that something bad would happen in the next few days. Li Jin kept thinking in his heart and kept looking at Yi Hao. He felt that Yi Hao was strong enough and very mysterious. Moreover, he also understood the nature of the Sparrow Demon. He might as well take a gamble. If he did not take the risk, he would not be able to live past tonight. Maybe he could achieve something by following Yi Hao. It was better than staying here and being a bandit. In the end, Li Jin still did not want to die. He decided to rely on Yi Hao. When he thought of Yi Hao's immortal arts and mind reading, Li Jin was very worried. Therefore, he threw the bad thoughts to the back of his mind and sincerely relied on Yi Hao. Ding dong! Congratulations, Li Jin's loyalty has reached 80 points. The system notification sounded. Yi Hao smiled. Li Jin's loyalty had reached 80 points. This meant that Li Jin would not betray him. As long as his life was not threatened, Li Jin would be loyal to him. Congratulations on making the right choice. This is for you. Yi Hao was never stingy to his own people. When Li Jin's loyalty reached 80 points, the system notified him that he had successfully subdued a village and rewarded him with a Tier 1 spirit weapon. Yi Hao had no use for it. He still had a lot in his bag. He directly threw the spirit weapon rewarded by the system to Li Jin. At the same time, he secretly paid attention to whether Li Jin would be tempted by the money. If he was, he would directly kill him. This is a spirit weapon. Li Jin took the weapon that Yi Hao threw to him. At first, he was puzzled. Why did Yi Hao give him a weapon? But when he felt the aura of the weapon, Li Jin excitedly shouted. Fortunately, there were no guards at the door. Otherwise, there might be trouble. Master, this is for me? Li Jin unknowingly changed the way he addressed Yi Hao. He still could not believe it. For a martial artist, it was their dream to have a spirit weapon. Even the lowest level spirit weapon was beyond their reach. He did not expect his new master to be so generous. At this moment, the last bit of resentment in Li Jin's heart disappeared. If he was forced to submit to Yi Hao at the beginning, he was definitely willing to do so now. When Yi Hao heard that Li Jin's loyalty had increased by quite a bit, he was also surprised. How important was the influence of spirit weapons to the martial artists of this world? If it weren't for the fact that refining spirit weapons required certain conditions and materials, Yi Hao would have wanted to summon a few blacksmiths. When the time came, his army would have a spirit weapon. How cool would that be? Get up. About the attack on my Yan Huang city tomorrow. Master, your subordinate would definitely not dare. No, you still have to pretend to cooperate with the Sparrow Demon. When the time comes, we will destroy him in one fell swoop. Yes. Yi Hao reminded Li Jin of a few things and disappeared into the night. He went to the next village. Chapter 75. The night passed quickly, and Yi Hao had already broken into 7 or 8 strongholds. Those who were as obedient as Li Jin were only a minority. After all, there were still many who did not know what was good for them and were not afraid of death. Yi Hao, of course, fulfilled his wish. After killing them, he chose a few more with high status in the stronghold to obey him and take control of the stronghold. Yi Hao saw that the sky was starting to brighten and did not intend to continue to the next few strongholds. More than half of the 20 strongholds that the Sparrow Demon had roped in had surrendered to Yi Hao. According to the news from the strongholds that had surrendered to him, the Sparrow Demon would act at noon today. Therefore, he had to hurry back. Yi Hao did not expect the sparrow demon to be so anxious. If he had another day, the remaining strongholds would be in his pocket. However, it was enough for now. Young Emperor, you are back. Yi Hao had just reached Yanhuang City when Zhang Zhu and Hua Rong quickly opened the door to welcome him. Yes. Yi Hao handed the purple cry flying horse to a soldier and dismounted, leading a group of people into the city. Young Emperor, the sparrow demon really sent the equipment over. Hua Rong said in surprise. Your subordinate is really impressed by the young Emperor's foresight. However, the leader from yesterday brought more than 100 soldiers and is still living in our city. Hua Rong looked a little worried. Oh, so fast? Yi Hao looked at Hua Rong in surprise and joy. He did not expect the sparrow demon to be so daring. If he had not guessed the sparrow demon's plan, he might have been fooled. Looks like we have to thank him. If we don't kill him, how can we live up to his efforts? Yi Hao saw that the soldiers were still in tattered clothes and had not changed their equipment. He asked anxiously, "Where is the equipment?" How could they not change their equipment when there was new equipment? They were about to go to war. With equipment, their lives would be guaranteed. They are all in the warehouse. 3,000 sets, not one more, not one less. They are all brand new equipment. It was obvious that Hua Rong was also very happy and answered with a smile on his face. By the way, this is a letter from the sparrow demon to you, young Emperor. I didn't dare to open it yet. Hua Rong suddenly remembered. He took out a letter and handed it to Yi Hao respectfully. With a trace of doubt, Yi Hao took the letter and opened it to read its contents. After reading it, Yi Hao smiled and handed the letter to Hua Rong and Zhang Zhu. This sparrow demon is really cunning. After reading it, Zhang Zhu said angrily, "He wants to destroy us and the bandits without any effort. He really thinks too highly of his 3,000 sets of equipment." Hua Rong read the contents of the letter with a look of disdain. The content of the sparrow demon's letter was for Yanhuang City to defend the city. He would let the 7,000 to 8,000 bandits attack Yanhuang City. At that time, they would attack from both sides and destroy the bandits together. They were not stupid. With one look, they could tell that the sparrow demon had given them 3,000 sets of equipment to win the hearts of Yanhuang City's soldiers and make them trust him willingly. However, when the battle started, he would definitely not attack from both sides. He would definitely let Yanhuang City and the bandits fight to the death. In the end, the sparrow demon would come and clean up the mess. At that time, Yanhuang City and the bandits would have no room to resist and could only be slaughtered. It was a pity that he had met Yi Hao. Even if he was beaten to death, the sparrow demon would not know that more than half of the bandits he had allied with belonged to Yi Hao. He also did not expect that he would reap what he sowed and give Yi Hao 3,000 sets of equipment for free. Tell the brothers to change into the equipment. We are giving the demon sparrow a great gift. Where are the 100 soldiers that are supposed to escort the equipment? Yi Hao tucked the letter into his bosom and ordered Zhang Zhu. At the same time, he asked Hua Rong. If Yi Hao was not wrong, these 100 people were definitely well-trained soldiers. If he left them in his city, they would definitely be a disaster. In the courtyard beside the city lord's residence. Bring the men and surround them. Today we will let the brothers watch a good show. Yi Hao held the Gatling gun in his hand and felt the cold metal on his hand. Although the Gatling gun was many times bigger than before, Yi Hao still held it in his hand easily. After all, his strength of a few thousand kilograms was not for show. I wonder if it really has unlimited bullet. Yi Hao looked at the black Gatling gun in his hand. Although he did not know how powerful it was, he would use this group of people to test its firepower today. Hua Rong looked at the Gatling gun in Yi Hao's hand curiously. He did not know what it was. In the memory that he imported from the system, there was never such a thing in the Totality Land. He did not know what it was used for. What is the meaning of this? Yi Hao brought his men and rushed to the courtyard where the Sparrow Demon's subordinates were staying. The guards at the door pulled out their weapons and asked cautiously. What answered them was a hail of bullets that hit their bodies wantonly. Instantly, their flesh and blood splattered everywhere. I didn't expect the lethality to be so good. Yi Hao's blood was boiling as he looked at the mouth of the Gatling gun. It was still smoking. The two guards couldn't be more dead. They were lying in a pool of blood. Even the wall was pierced through a few holes. Huarong, how do you feel? Yi Hao looked at Huarong, who was standing at the side with his mouth wide open. He was looking at the Gatling gun in fear, and the two corpses lying in a pool of blood. I can't dodge it, Huarong replied. Before he could react, he saw a few black dots piercing through the two guards. How dare you deceive the city lord of the Sparrow City? When the people in the courtyard heard the commotion outside, they knew that they had been tricked. With a roar, a group of people rushed out with weapons in their hands. What is the meaning of this? Do you dare to go back on your words? The leader saw that his two subordinates had died horribly. Their chests had been smashed by some sharp weapon. However, this was not the time to admit defeat. He questioned Huarong loudly. Suddenly, the leader's gaze landed on the Gatling gun. He looked at Yi Hao carefully. Suddenly, a young man appeared in his mind. It's you. The demon of the heavenly sparrow had ordered his men to kill Yi Hao. Although he was not involved, he had seen Yi Hao hiding at the side. He did not expect Yi Hao to be here. How dare you? This is the city lord of Yan Huang City. Huarong held his spear and shouted. It seems like you have been scheming against our city lord since the beginning. The leader looked at the hundreds of people around him and sighed. Leader, let's surrender. One of the subordinates held a weapon and said fearfully. Leader, there are too many of them. Another subordinate said. Brothers, let's fight it out with them. Our families are still in the Sparrow City. If you don't want them to be punished by the city lord, fight to the death with me. The leader looked at the group of subordinates and shouted with determination. Kill! When the people of the Sparrow City heard the leader's words, their expressions changed. One by one, they pulled themselves together. Yi Hao nodded. It was rare for these people to have a trace of vigor. He kept the Gatling gun in his space and waved his hand. Kill them all! Yi Hao stood at his original spot and looked at the hundreds of people fighting together. Sounds of killing could be heard and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Yi Hao's gaze had turned cold. He was no longer as merciful as before. He would not show mercy to those who deserved to die. Chapter 76. Both sides fought for more than 10 minutes. It was a one-sided massacre. Finally, the battle stopped. The people of Sparrow City were all killed. Yi Hao obtained more than 3,000 soul points. As for his soldiers, under the protection of Huarong and Zhang Zhu, they only suffered light injuries. None of them died. Young Emperor, what should we do with these people? Huarong walked over with blood all over his body. Collect their corpses. I wanted to give the Sparrow Demon a show of strength. Forget it. Yi Hao looked at the corpses on the ground. He couldn't bear to hang them on the city wall. At least they were willing to sacrifice their lives for their families. This was worthy of respect. Yes. Brothers, today we will eradicate the evil forces of Yan Huang City. Let's go. The Sparrow Demon rode on his horse. In front of him, there were more than 10 factions. There were more than 10,000 people, and they were full of energy. Behind the Sparrow Demon, there were more than 20 leaders of the mountain strongholds. The Sparrow Demon took the lead. At the same time, he was trying to build a good relationship with the leaders of the mountain strongholds around him. Leaders, we have 10,000 soldiers. It will be easy to take down Yan Huang City. The Sparrow Demon said in high spirits. I heard that the general of Yan Huang City is not weak. However, one of the leaders said worriedly. What are you afraid of? With the Sparrow City Lord around, what are we afraid of? Moreover, we have 10,000 soldiers and are not to be trifled with, a burly man said in a low voice. Don't worry, everyone. You will get the benefits of destroying Yan Huang City. The Sparrow Demon said generously. He thought to himself that it would depend on their luck whether they could get the benefits alive. The Sparrow Demon sneered secretly. When the time comes to attack the city, please hand over the command to me. The Sparrow Demon asked with a smile. At the same time, he released his aura and swept his eyes across the few people. All the leaders did not expect the Sparrow Demon to ask for the command at this time. They were all in a difficult position. I am willing. Suddenly, a voice sounded. The Sparrow Demon looked in the direction of the voice with satisfaction. Leader Li Jin really trusts me. I am very grateful. Li Jin's position among these leaders was not low. Seeing that he had agreed, the other leaders could only agree. No one dared to stand out and openly protest. After all, the Sparrow Demon was the strongest here, so they could not do anything. On the other hand, the Sparrow Demon's attitude towards Li Jin became very friendly. He directly rode side by side with Li Jin and chatted with him. He wanted to take Li Jin as his confidant. Although Li Jin had been talking to the Sparrow Demon, he was laughing coldly in his heart. His master had already seen through your little trick. I'll let you be proud for a while. Let's see how you'll die. Noontime, the 10,000-strong army stood 300 meters away from Yan Huang City. The banners of the mountain strongholds fluttered in the wind, and the banner of the demon Sparrow tribe was the most eye-catching. In a while, you guys will attack first. The Sparrow Demon looked at the city in front of him. The soldiers on the city wall were wearing shiny silver armor. At the same time, he vaguely saw his subordinates standing on the city wall, so he did not suspect anything. The Sparrow Demon seemed to have seen the hope of victory. Everything was going according to his plan. What he needed to do now was to preserve his strength and wear down the strength of Yan Huang City and the bandits. He could then sit back and reap the benefit. The Sparrow Demon divided into 3 small groups to attack first. There were a total of 3,000 bandits. The remaining 3,000 to 4,000 bandits were the ones who had supported him from the beginning and handed over the command to him, including Li Jin and the others. Everyone knew that those who rushed up first would be cannon fodder. However, the dozen or so leaders could not voice out their grievances. Yi Hao stood on the city wall and looked at the mighty army below. At a glance, there were about 10,000 people. This was his first large-scale battle since coming to the other world. This battle was very important. Whether or not Yan Huang City's reputation could be made known and the bandit forces within a radius of 100 miles would depend on this battle. Archers, release the arrows. Yi Hao knew that this was a real battle and did not want to use the Gatling gun. Moreover, even if he used the Gatling gun, there were more than 10,000 people. Even if he eliminated his own men, there were still 7,000 to 8,000 of them. How long would it take for him to kill all of them? Hundreds of archers received the order and the arrows in their hands were shot out rapidly. After a round, dozens of bandits below had died. However, no one dared to retreat and continued to charge forward. Open the city gates, Yi Hao shouted. Boom! The city gates were opened directly. Thousands of bandits were stunned. What was going on? They had not rushed to attack the city and the city gates were already opened. Could it be that there was a spy inside? Thousands of bandits stopped in their tracks and whispered to each other, not daring to enter the city. Charge in. Those who perform well will be rewarded with 1,000 taels of gold. Those who retreat will be killed without mercy, the Sparrow Demon shouted loudly from behind. Kill! Once they heard that there was a reward, the bandits seemed to have been injected with chicken blood and charged into the city rapidly. Sparrow City Lord, this. One of the leaders looked at the Sparrow Demon worriedly. Yan Huang City had opened the city gates for no reason and allowed his men to charge in without checking the situation. Among the 3,000 people that had charged in, there were all of his asset. If all of them died here, he would become a commander without an army. What are you afraid of? I have a spy in Yan Huang City. The Sparrow Demon was ecstatic. Yan Huang City had indeed followed his instructions and lured the enemy in. As long as he could delay for a while and wait for both sides to suffer heavy losses, the remaining bandits would lead their men in. In the end, he would bring his men in to clean up the mess. Yan Huang City would be his and his power would expand infinitely. Yi Hao watched as the 3,000 bandits charged into the city. He quickly closed the city gates and walked down with Huarong. When the 3,000 bandits saw that the city gate had been closed, they immediately panicked. They wanted to kill their way back. As long as they killed the soldiers guarding the city gate, they would be fine. However, the 10 or so soldiers guarding the city gate instantly turned into killing gods. None of the bandits could get within 3 meters of the city gate. In just a short while, dozens of corpses were piled up on the ground. No one dared to move forward. Lay down your weapons and we will spare your lives. Suddenly, countless soldiers in silver armor rushed out from the city and surrounded all the bandits. Some of them even shot arrows. This caused even more bandits to panic. They didn't know what to do and prayed that the people outside would rush in to save them. Yi Hao walked to the front under the protection of Huarong and the rest. Yi Hao used his blade to cut down a bandit who tried to kill him and shouted coldly, "I'll say it for the last time. Lay down your weapons and we will spare your lives. Otherwise we will kill you on the spot. It seems like you guys really don't want to live. Let me fulfill your wishes." Yi Hao looked at the group of bandits who were hesitating. He waved his small hand and rushed into the crowd with his weapon. Yi Hao's soldiers saw how brave young emperor was and felt their blood boil. They also took out their weapons and charged at the bandits. Chapter 77. Ah! Help, I surrender. I don't want to fight anymore. Please let me go. I want to leave the city. In an instant, voices of surrender were heard everywhere. They were bandits who had been forced into a corner and had never experienced a battle like this. Their courage had long been shattered by the shouts. At this very moment, Yi Hao had closed the door and beaten them like dogs. Facing Yi Hao's subordinates and the group of generals, they were simply unable to advance or retreat. There was no path to heaven, no door to hell, and all of them were crying for their parents. Throw down your weapons. Those who surrender will be spared. Yi Hao shouted when he saw that it was about time. These bandits no longer had the strength to fight. Throw down your weapons. Those who surrender will be spared. Hearing Yi Hao's voice, the soldiers beside him shouted along with Yi Hao. Then, more and more soldiers shouted in unison. Upon hearing this shout, many bandits immediately threw their weapons to the ground. Yi Hao's morale was great. His voice was louder and louder. More and more people threw their weapons to the ground. Those who surrender, kneel on the ground and put your hands on your head. Many more people who resisted stubbornly were killed. Most of the bandits threw down their weapons. In the face of death, they wanted to live. Huarong, count the casualties. Zhang Zhu, tie these people up with ropes and take them to an empty courtyard. As there was no prison in the city, Yi Hao could only lock these bandits in the courtyard. They would deal with them after defeating the Sparrow Demon. Under Yi Hao's orders, a group of soldiers quickly got to work. They cleaned up the battlefield and took in the captive. Reporting to the young emperor, a total of 127 of our men died and 253 were lightly injured. More than 1,300 of our men died and more than 1,800 were taken captive. Huarong quickly reported the statistic. Yi Hao was very satisfied when he heard the statistic. After all, his subordinates had not undergone any training. They were able to achieve so much mainly because of the generals. More importantly, they had quickly raised their morale. Otherwise, they would not have been able to win so easily. The death of more than 100 men in exchange for the death of more than 1,000 men was a ratio of 10 to 1. This was the first battle, and it greatly boosted the morale of the soldiers. Most of the reason for this was because Yi Hao was personally on the battlefield. The plan was going on unsteadily. Yi Hao guessed that the Sparrow Demon would definitely send Li Jin and the others to attack the city. That way, Yi Hao would be able to combine his forces and directly annihilate the Sparrow Demon. Yi Hao ordered his subordinates to rest and let some of the soldiers continue to shout and kill, pretending that the war was not over yet. The Sparrow Demon outside the city was overjoyed when he heard that the battle cries in the city had not ended. The more intense the battle in the city was, the better it would be for him. Let's fight. It's best if all of them die. City Lord K, should we send our troops to help them? One of the bandit leaders couldn't bear to watch any longer. Hearing the deafening battle cries, he was worried about his own soldiers. After hesitating for a long while, he mustered up his courage and spoke up. That's right. City Master K, send out your troops. City Master K, the more than 10 leaders who had been sent to the city were restless. They looked in the direction of the city anxiously. These were all their subordinate. If they were gone, they would really be gone and they would be nothing. Many of them were already regretting that they had besieged Yanhuang City. Putting aside the fact that there were no benefits, they had even lost their subordinate. Some of them were even suspecting that the Sparrow Demon was deliberately trying to deplete their forces. You're messing with the morale of the troops. Kill. The Sparrow Demon knew that it wasn't the right time. Hearing the chatter of more than 10 people beside his ears, his eyes flashed with killing intent. He drew out his long sword and cut down the leader who had started the battle. Who else has any objections? The sword in the Sparrow Demon's hand was dripping with blood. His eyes swept across the group of leaders and the scene instantly became silent. All the leaders looked at the corpses on the ground and the sword in the Sparrow Demon's hand. They didn't dare to say a word. Facing the Sparrow Demon's gaze, all of them retreated in fear. As long as you take down Yanhuang City, I will give you all the benefit. I don't want anything. The Sparrow Demon saw that it had a deterrent effect and immediately sheathed his sword with a smile on his face. Thank you, Sparrow City Lord. The expressions of the group of leaders changed. However, they couldn't do anything to the Sparrow Demon. They could only flatter him from the side. They weren't as strong as the Sparrow Demon and their subordinates were still in the city. Who would dare to go against the Sparrow Demon? Li Jin and the rest wouldn't either. They couldn't destroy Yi Hao's opportunity and had been pandering to the Sparrow Demon. The city gates are open. A sharp-eyed leader suddenly shouted. Instantly, everyone looked over. However, when the city gates opened, it was silent. There wasn't a single person. Even the soldiers on the city walls had disappeared. The scene was so quiet that it was terrifying. Previously, there were still shouts of killing. However, at this moment, there wasn't a single sound. Yanhuang City seemed to have become a ghost city. The 7,000 soldiers felt like they had entered a different world. Curiosity and fear multiplied in their hearts. Discussions broke out everywhere. It seems like our men are doomed. Although the Sparrow Demon was laughing in his heart, he pretended to be regretful and said, he had already expected this outcome. The soldiers of Yanhuang City were armed to the teeth. These motley crew couldn't be compared to them. Of course, the Sparrow Demon was sure that Yanhuang City had suffered many casualties. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to fight for so long. No matter how good their equipment was, it was useless without proper training. Sparrow City Lord, what should we do? A leader asked loudly when he saw that none of his subordinates had come out alive. His tone was filled with grief and anger. The Sparrow Demon had an ominous look as he looked at the leader. When the leader saw the Sparrow Demon's expression and the body on the ground, fear surged in his heart. He quickly lowered his head and didn't dare to look at the Sparrow Demon. Humph! The sparrow demon snorted coldly. He was planning in his heart how to get the remaining bandits to attack Yan Huang City and then reap the benefit. Stop pretending. Sparrow City Lord, I'm willing to bring 1,000 soldiers into the city to investigate. A leader who had been subdued by Yi Hao stood up and looked at the city with disdain. He held his weapon and went to the sparrow demon to ask for orders. The sparrow demon was stunned. He didn't expect that there would be someone who wasn't afraid of death at this moment. He pretended to be worried and hesitant. He stole a glance at the leader and was worried that he would regret his decision. Sparrow City Lord, I'll definitely cut off the head of the Yan Huang City Lord and give it to you. Seeing the sparrow demon's expression, the leader continued. At the same time, he pretended to be willing to submit to the sparrow demon. All right, leader, be careful. The sparrow demon patted the leader's shoulder and reminded him. The leader quickly led 1,000 soldiers and charged towards Yan Huang City. Chapter 78. Young Emperor, there are bandits attacking again. This time, there are about 1,000 of them. Huarong hid behind a house and looked outside the city. When he saw the second attack, he immediately reported, "Wait for the enemy to come in. Immediately close the city gate. Don't be in a hurry to attack." Yi Hao guessed that the people attacking below might be his men. Demon of the Sparrow, you must be very proud now. If you find out that you dug a hole for yourself, I wonder if you'll die from anger. Yi Hao laughed secretly in his heart. More than 1,000 people rushed into the city, and the city gates were closed again. More than 1,000 people looked around cautiously. Their leader didn't tell them, and they thought that he was going to give them away. Niu Pai greets master. Niu Pai and the other leaders looked around. They didn't know where Yi Hao was. Seeing that his subordinates were still holding weapons, Niu Pai stood out and shouted, "Put your weapons away." Some of the subordinates put their weapons away. Some of them were very confused. They didn't know why they put their weapons away. This was a war. Putting away their weapons was asking for death. Master. Huarong heard Niu Pai's words and looked at Yi Hao. Thinking that Yi Hao didn't let him attack, Huarong guessed that this had something to do with Yi Hao. However, he was very curious. When did Yi Hao subdue these bandits? Could it have been last night? But was this reliable? Young Emperor, be careful. Seeing Yi Hao walk towards Niu Pai, Huarong was shocked. He quickly chased after him. He was afraid that this was Niu Pai's trick. If Niu Pai wasn't sincere enough and pretended to surrender, Yi Hao would be in danger. Seeing Yi Hao walk out, the soldiers hiding around immediately rushed out and surrounded the 1,000 people to protect Yi Hao. Put down your weapons. Yi Hao knew that his subordinates meant well. However, he didn't have to worry about Niu Pai and the others' loyal subordinate. Greetings, Lord. When Niu Pai and the others saw Yi Hao, they immediately knelt down in joy. Put away the weapons of those who aren't your men and lock them up for the time being, Yi Hao said to Niu Pai as he looked at the 1,000 or so bandits who didn't know what was going on. Although most of these 1,000 people were Niu Pai's subordinates, there were also a few who weren't. For the sake of safety, Yi Hao chose to imprison all of them. Yang Xiaodao. Yi Hao called out to Yang Xiaodao beside him. All right. Yang Xiaodao knew what to do. He led a group of generals and soldiers to loudly shout and kill. They all sat on the ground and clashed their weapons together. Niu Pai and the others were stunned. This lord really had his own ideas. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have thought that there was an earth-shattering battle in the city. This group of people was so familiar with it. It was obvious that this wasn't the first time. It seemed that they had waited for so long outside the city. In fact, the battle had already ended. Niu Pai and the others secretly rejoiced that they had joined Yi Hao. Otherwise, they would have become generals without an army. Niu Pai, how did you join the Lord? Yang Xiaodao walked over and asked as he put his arm around Niu Pai's shoulder. Niu Pai was taken aback by Yang Xiaodao's hug. After all, they were all leaders of the mountain. They all had some friction between them. What's wrong? Now that we're all masters people, you still care about the trivial matters of the past? Besides, you're the one who bullied me, you didn't suffer any losses. Yang Xiaodao saw that Cowhide's face was not used to it, so he didn't care at all and casually said, "How could that be?" Niu Pai touched his head in embarrassment. Yi Hao looked at Yang Xiaodao with satisfaction. This was the first subordinate who was loyal to him. He could handle the relationship between people very well. He immediately integrated Niu Pai into the group and got along harmoniously. Although there was no doubt about the loyalty of these subordinates, it would be troublesome if the relationship between them wasn't good. However, it seemed that he didn't have to worry about it now. Alright, stop fooling around. Take a rest. There will be a fierce battle later. Yi Hao was very happy to see his subordinates fooling around. However, he couldn't afford to be careless as the Sparrow Demon had yet to be dealt with. Yi Hao's brows revealed a dignified expression. "Young Emperor, what's wrong?" Huarong asked softly as the group of generals stood aside and looked at Yi Hao. "I have been having a bad feeling for the past 2 days. Something might happen." Yi Hao suspected that the Sparrow Demon had a backup plan. Otherwise, there wouldn't be anything else that could make him feel uneasy. Now, he just wanted to eliminate the Sparrow Demon as soon as possible. "Everyone hide. Open the city gate," Yi Hao ordered. All the soldiers immediately went into hiding. A few generals and leaders went to open the city gate. "Sparrow City Lord, this time I will bring people in to investigate," Li Jin said directly when he saw the city gates open. As long as he brought his subordinates in, half of the plan would be completed. At that time, eliminating the Sparrow Demon would be a piece of cake. The Sparrow Demon looked at Li Jin strangely. What was going on? They knew that they were going to die, yet so many people were still rushing in. At the same time, he was starting to suspect that Yan Huang City had already known that he was trying to wear down his strength. However, why were they still obediently following the plan? He didn't believe that the people of Sparrow City were fools. Li Jin saw the hesitant expression of the Sparrow Demon and scolded himself in his heart. He was to blame for being too impatient. Therefore, he had aroused the suspicions of the Sparrow Demon. It wasn't just the Sparrow Demon. Most of the leaders who didn't have subordinates were also looking at Li Jin strangely. They knew that they were going to die, yet they were still rushing in. Couldn't they see that Yan Huang City was like a demon that ate people up without spitting out the bones? None of their subordinates who went in came out alive. "Let's rest here first. Let the brothers eat first." The Sparrow Demon wasn't in a hurry to make a decision. He felt that today was going too smoothly. It was so smooth that it made him feel afraid. However, the battle cries in the city couldn't be faked. He needed to consider carefully. Li Jin still wanted to go forward and say something, but he was stopped by another leader who was subdued by Yi Hao. The leader shook his head slightly at him. Li Jin immediately understood and didn't say anything else. Where are those useless people? Could something have happened to them? The Sparrow Demon had been watching Yan Huang City. At the beginning, he saw his subordinates who had sneaked into Yan Huang City while escorting the equipment. Now there wasn't a single person. Could it be that they had been exposed, and it was Yan Huang City? The Sparrow Demon was thinking about what he should do. At this time, he couldn't bear to withdraw his troops. Yi Hao waited for a long time. When he saw that there wasn't any intention to attack, he couldn't help but feel worried. Could the Sparrow Demon have discovered something? It couldn't be. Everything he had done was flawless. Logically, the Sparrow Demon would definitely send people to continue the attack at this time. Chapter 79. Yi Hao stood on the city wall and looked at the troops below. They were cooking. "Young Emperor, what's going on?" Huarong asked, puzzled. It wasn't even night yet, why were they cooking already? "Huarong, do you have the confidence to kill the Sparrow Demon with one arrow?" Yi Hao didn't know what was going on either. Yi Hao looked at the figure of the Sparrow Demon, and his eyes lit up. It shouldn't be a problem with a Tier 3 spiritual weapon. Huarong looked at the figure of the Sparrow Demon, and said without hesitation, "Wait for my order." Yi Hao patted Huarong on the shoulder and said happily. Yi Hao quickly walked down the city wall and gathered all the troop. He walked up the city wall and said, "Shoot." Huarong pulled the Tier 3 spiritual bow to the max and aimed at the Sparrow Demon. He quickly released the bowstring and a golden arrow flew across the sky towards the Sparrow Demon. If it hit, the Sparrow Demon would definitely die on the spot. "City Lord, be careful." The Sparrow Demon didn't expect anyone to know how to shoot an arrow. He didn't expect Yan Huang City to have a godly archer. At such a distance, he thought it was very safe. Therefore, he wasn't prepared at all. However, when one of his subordinates saw Huarong pulling the bow, he immediately rushed towards the Sparrow Demon without any hesitation. The Sparrow Demon fell to the ground, while the subordinate was dead. The Sparrow Demon panicked. Cold sweat quickly flowed out of his body. He looked at the corpse on top of him. If it weren't for his subordinates risking their lives to save him, he would definitely be dead. Even so, the arrow still pierced through his body and injured his left arm. Kill! Yi Hao felt a little regretful that he did not manage to hit the demon sparrow. However, since things had come to this point, he did not have the time to think about it anymore. He immediately pulled out his saber, pointed outside the city, and shouted. More than 4,000 troops rushed out of the city upon hearing Yi Hao's order. In an instant, the battle cries shook the sky. More than 20 leaders took the lead and pounced on the Sparrow Demon with weapons. This was the first merit. Huarong couldn't kill the Sparrow Demon. If he could kill the Sparrow Demon, it would definitely be a great merit. "Kill these damned bandits for me." The Sparrow Demon didn't panic. He immediately got up and pushed the corpses away. Because he still had more than 5,000 troops, the Sparrow Demon wasn't afraid. "Kill!" Li Jin knew that there was no need to continue acting. He picked up his weapon and slashed at the Sparrow City soldiers at the side. "Are you trying to cook?" The Sparrow Demon saw Li Jin's actions and shouted angrily. "Rebellion? Sparrow Demon, the Sparrow Demon, the Sparrow Demon, the Sparrow Demon, the Sparrow, the Sparrow, the Sparrow Demon, the Sparrow Demon, the Sparrow, the Sparrow Demon. Brothers, kill these bastards from the city of sparrows for me. Brothers, it's time to perform in front of the Lord." When the leaders saw that Li Jindo was no longer concealing the truth, they all shouted to their subordinates. The sparrow. Li Jin picked up his weapon and slashed a few soldiers. He shouted at the remaining leaders who didn't know what to do. They didn't know what had happened. How did their own people get into a fight in an instant? Why did their allies, who had been submissive to the Sparrow Demon at the start, suddenly pick up their weapons and attack the Sparrow City soldiers? "You damn bandits!" The Sparrow Demon endured the pain and slashed a few bandits at the side. He shouted angrily, "Brothers, let's fight it out with him. He killed so many of our brothers." One of the leaders couldn't take it anymore. He had become a commander without an army. All this was given to him by the Sparrow Demon. He picked up his weapon and charged at the Sparrow City soldiers. At the same time, he shouted at the hesitant leaders. "Brothers, this is all a trick of the Sparrow Demon. Kill him." The remaining leaders who were still hesitating looked at the chaotic battle in front of them. Some of them also picked up their weapons and slashed at the Sparrow City soldiers. However, there were still some who didn't move. "Friends, I am the city lord of Yan Huang City. Most of your subordinates are still imprisoned in Yan Huang City. What are you hesitating for?" Yi Hao stood on the city wall and shouted loudly. Although the battle cries were deafening, Yi Hao's voice still reached the ears of the crowd. "It's you!" The Sparrow Demon heard Yi Hao's voice and looked at the city wall. When he saw Yi Hao, he cried out in surprise. He didn't expect Yi Hao to be the city lord of Yan Huang City after looking for Yi Hao for half a day and being afraid of Yi Hao. Why? Are you surprised that I'm here? Yi Hao asked mockingly. Little thief, give me your life. The sparrow demon slashed a few people and dashed towards the city wall. In his opinion, as long as he took down Yi Hao, these people wouldn't scatter. Only then would he have a chance of victory. Brothers, kill! Some of the leaders who were still hesitating immediately joined the battle when they heard that their subordinates might still be alive. They charged towards the sparrow demon's troops. Zhang Zhu, Huarong, take down this bastard! Yi Hao shouted when he saw the sparrow demon charging towards him with a ferocious expression. Bastard, go to hell! Huarong is here. Huarong put away the bow in his hand and flew down from the city wall. With the strength of a peak martial general, the height of the city wall was no problem for him. Zhang Zhu, who was killing the enemies at the side, heard Yi Hao's order. He killed all the soldiers in front of him and pounced on the sparrow demon. You're courting death. The sparrow demon didn't even look at Huarong. He held up his weapon to block Huarong's attack. How is this possible? Suddenly, the sparrow demon's expression changed. He felt a strong impact from Huarong's spear. The power of the spear almost knocked his weapon away. The web between his thumb and index finger was torn. More blood gushed out from the arrow wound on his body. The sparrow demon took a few steps back. He looked at Zhang Zhu, who was charging towards him, and Huarong, who was waving his silver spear in front of him. A trace of fear flashed across the sparrow demon's face. He could feel that Huarong was stronger than him. He might even die on the spot. Huarong didn't care what the sparrow demon was thinking. The silver spear in his hand danced like a silver snake as he attacked the sparrow demon rapidly. The sparrow demon kept dodging. A few holes had already appeared in his armor and blood was gushing out. The sparrow demon had a conflicted expression on his face. He was considering whether to use that thing or not. If he used it, his realm might plummet. If he didn't use it, he might die here. He never thought that he would fall at the hands of a child. Although he was the weakest of the 7 cities within a radius of 100 miles, he didn't even fear Wu Ho. He never thought that he would fall at the hands of Yi Hao. He didn't even think that he would fall at the hands of Wu Ho. Looking at Yi Hao, who was on the city wall with a smile on his face, as if everything was under his control, the sparrow demon was filled with anger. He made up his mind and took out a pill bottle from his bosom. General Hua, quickly kill him. Yang Xiaodao inadvertently saw the actions of the sparrow demon and suddenly thought of something. His face changed and he anxiously reminded. Chapter 80. Oh no! Yang Xiaodao saw that the demon sparrow had swallowed the elixir and became anxious. His expression became very gloomy. Young Emperor, quickly leave here. General Hua, General Zhang, quickly dodge. Yang Xiaodao remembered the legendary effect of the elixir. Looking at the 2 people who were still attacking the demon sparrow, he could not help but shout loudly, fearing that it would be too late. What's wrong? Huarong and Zhang Zhu were puzzled. They did not know the effect of the elixir, so they were very puzzled. A person who was about to die, so what if he took the elixir? Without Yi Hao's order, the 2 of them did not dare to retreat. Moreover, it was too late to stop now. But just in case, the 2 of them attacked fiercely and quickly. Get out of my way! The aura of the demon of Sparrow's body skyrocketed in an instant, like a beast that had just awakened. The fierce martial arts power on his body directly tore apart the armor on his body and shot out in all directions. Some soldiers were hit and fell directly to the ground. One could imagine how powerful his power was. His realm was also constantly increasing. 9th rank Martial General, 10th rank Martial General Wu Ho, 1st rank Wu Ho, 2nd rank. Huarong and Zhang Zhu's attacks were easily blocked by the demon sparrow. At this time, the group of people stopped attacking and looked at the demon sparrow in surprise. They felt that the power on his body was constantly increasing, which made the group of people open their mouths in surprise. The bandits and bandit leaders who were close to the demon sparrow were all retreating. They were afraid of being injured by the demon sparrow. On the other hand, Yang Xiaodao and the others knew that the closer they were to the demon sparrow, the faster they would die. Instead, they took out their weapons and quickly surrounded the demon sparrow. Yi Hao looked at the loyalty of the group of subordinates and was very satisfied. However, he also looked at the demon sparrow curiously. He did not know what kind of elixir the demon sparrow had eaten that could actually increase his realm by so much. It seems that the demon sparrow has been occupying the Sparrow City for a long time. This should be his trump card. Yi Hao was deep in thought. From the beginning, he had suspected that the demon sparrow was just a mere 8th-level martial general. How could it be able to fight against the Wu Ho realm? It seemed like it had something to do with this pill. I wonder if he still has more. If he does, I'll snatch some so that my subordinates won't have to worry about their strength. Yi Hao sensed that the sparrow demon's strength had reached Wu Ho's rank 7 and was still increasing. Everyone else was on high alert, but Yi Hao did not care about the strength of the sparrow demon at all. No matter how strong the sparrow demon was, he still had the Gatling gun. When the time came, he could directly send the sparrow demon back to his hometown with a single shot. However, Yi Hao's heart was beating like a drum. He did not believe that his Gatling gun was invincible. If the sparrow demon's strength increased too much, then the Gatling gun might not be effective anymore. Fortunately, the sparrow demon's strength stopped increasing after reaching the 10th rank of Wu Ho. It's a pity that I haven't reached the martial king realm. The sparrow demon felt the endless power in his body. Although it was only temporarily his, it still made his blood boil. But it's enough. The sparrow demon laughed wildly. Looking at Hua Rong, Zhang Zhu, Yang Xiaodao, and the others who surrounded him, he showed a disdainful expression. Trash like you want to kill me? The sparrow demon's figure flashed and rushed out of the encirclement. He grabbed a rank 4 martial general who was watching the show from the side. He grabbed the martial general's neck and lifted him up. No matter how hard he struggled, it was useless. The martial general kept trying to pry the sparrow demon's hand away, but the sparrow demon's hand only tightened. The martial general's face was red and he felt that he could not breathe. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. After struggling for a while, his neck tilted and he could not be more dead. His entire body softened and fell down. Ha ha ha, this is the power of Wu Ho's peak. The sparrow demon laughed arrogantly and looked at Yi Hao provocatively. He knew that as long as he killed Yi Hao and obtained Yi Hao's space treasure, he would not have wasted this divine pill. Too strong. No one saw how the sparrow demon rushed out of the encirclement and easily killed a rank 4 martial general. This was the disparity in cultivation realms. Hua Rong and the others felt a huge pressure. They looked at each other and nodded slightly. They wanted to rush towards the sparrow demon, wanting to use their lives to fight it out with the sparrow demon. All of you, step down. Yi Hao's order made Hua Rong and the others stop in their tracks. Although they did not understand, they still obeyed Yi Hao's order and stared at the sparrow demon cautiously. Sparrow demon, do you think you're invincible? Yi Hao met the sparrow demon's provocative gaze and sneered lazily, not caring at all. It was as if he did not put the sparrow demon in his eyes at all. I don't dare to say that I'm invincible, but it's easy to kill all of you. The sparrow demon pointed at everyone around him and said with contempt. He could feel the strength of Hua Rong and the others. Although they had reached the peak of the martial general realm, they were like ants in his eyes. Unless there was a peak-level expert like Wu Ho, no one would be able to escape from his grasp. Although he could not see Yi Hao's strength clearly, he did not think too much about it. He guessed that Yi Hao must have a treasure that could hide his strength. I'm guessing that your pills must have a time limit. Hearing Yi Hao's words, the sparrow demon immediately laughed out loud. You can't be thinking of stalling for time, right? Ha ha ha, stop dreaming. Although my pills have a time limit, it's enough to turn this place into a river of blood and fill the ground with corpses. Oh, then how about we make a bet? When Yi Hao heard that the sparrow demon agreed that the pill had a time limit, he lost interest. He originally thought that it was similar to the dragon tiger pill, which could permanently increase his strength. However, even if it was a temporary increase in strength, it was still not bad. At the very least, it might be able to save his life when he was in danger. Do you think you still have a life to bet? The sparrow demon looked as if he was looking at a dead man. He did not expect Yi Hao to be so calm at this time, but he was curious. What do you think we should bet on? I'll bet that if you dare to move, you'll immediately die on the spot. Do you believe me? Yi Hao said word by word. At the same time, he had already taken out the Gatling gun and aimed it at the sparrow demon. Ha ha, your brain must be damaged. You want to kill me with this broken thing and a bunch of broken pipes? The sparrow demon laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke. Although the sparrow demon did not understand what Yi Hao was holding, he did not care about it at all. He would not believe that a bunch of pipes could kill people. When Hua Rong and the others saw the Gatling gun in Yi Hao's hand, they immediately recalled the scene in the morning and the two corpses that had been turned into sieves. Although they were still worried, they were still a little nervous. After all, they did not know whether this strange weapon would be effective against a peak-level expert like Wu Ho. Chapter 81. Don't worry. Even if I die, I, Yang Xiaodao, will definitely die in front of my master, Yang Xiaodao replied with a smile. He did not care about death at all. The atmosphere in the air suddenly froze. At this moment, tens of thousands of people had forgotten about the battle. They were all looking nervously at Yi Hao and the demon sparrow. They wanted to know who would have the last laugh. This was related to their lives. The soldiers of the demon sparrow trusted the demon sparrow very much at this moment. Wu Ho's Tier 10 strength was not to be underestimated. He could definitely command an area of 100 miles. Moreover, most of the soldiers of Yan Huang City were not afraid of death for Yi Hao. Only the bandits were feeling complicated at this moment. Their leader had sided with Yi Hao, so they followed Yi Hao. But now, because of the strength of the demon sparrow, they felt fear in their hearts. They did not believe that the pipes in Yi Hao's hands could kill a strong person at the pinnacle of Wu Ho. Kid, I'm standing right here. I want to see how your stupid pipes can kill me. The demon sparrow placed his weapon on his shoulder with one hand and placed the other on his waist. He looked at Yi Hao and said arrogantly. At such a distance, with Wu Ho's pinnacle defense, he did not believe that Yi Hao could hurt him. Demon sparrow, you are indeed arrogant. Yi Hao suddenly pulled the trigger. Yi Hao was delighted. He did not expect the demon sparrow to be so arrogant. This kind of arrogance was no different from an idiot. However, he would not show mercy. If he did not kill the demon sparrow quickly, it would definitely be troublesome. Clang, clang, clang. Under everyone's gaze, the Gatling gun was used by Yi Hao. Dozens of pipes were activated instantly and rapidly spewed out dozens of tongues of flame. The sound of the Gatling gun broke the silence. The bullets were covered by the smoke and were shot towards the demon sparrow as if they were free. The speed was not any slower than Hua Rong's arrows. This is. Sparrow demon saw the speed of the bullet. His face immediately changed and became flustered. He did not understand what kind of hidden weapon Yi Hao was holding, but its level was definitely not low. Sparrow demon wanted to dodge the moment the Gatling gun rang, but it was too late. At first, the bullets did not hurt him at all. The sparrow demon wanted to laugh at Yi Hao. However, he suddenly realized that this unknown hidden weapon had never stopped firing. It was as if there was no end to it. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of bullets pierced through his body. The sparrow demon's body was hit by the bullets and kept trembling. His chest and back were all pierced, and his life force was slowly fading away. I won't accept this. The demon sparrow stared at Yi Hao and gasped for breath. Blood gushed out of his mouth as he spoke. He did not expect that he would die here. Even if he ate the divine pill that he had kept for a long time, it would not help. He did not understand what kind of spiritual weapon Yi Hao was holding. It was so powerful. Demon Sparrow, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for your arrogance. Otherwise, I would not be able to kill you so easily. At least, I would have to spend a lot of effort. If you wanted to escape, I would not be able to catch you. Yi Hao saw that the demon sparrow's entire chest was smashed and blood was flowing all over the ground, so he stopped shooting. Seeing the demon sparrow looking at him unwillingly, Yi Hao said softly. Because the moment Yi Hao opened fire, he realized that the first few bullets could not cause any harm to the demon sparrow. It was mainly because hundreds and thousands of bullets were shot at the same time that such an effect could be achieved. It seemed that this Gatling gun was not omnipotent. It was a little difficult to deal with a peak Wu Ho. Yi Hao looked at the Gatling gun in his hand. However, this Gatling gun was already an enhanced version. It seemed that it was impossible to dominate the world with a Gatling gun. Yi Hao estimated that this Gatling gun would at most be useful against martial kings. It would be impossible for him to deal with people of a higher level. The demon sparrow fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. Long live the young emperor! Long live the young emperor! Seeing that the demon sparrow had reached the peak of Wu Ho and was killed by Yi Hao, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. This was because the peak of Wu Ho was too powerful for them. However, they did not expect that he would be killed by Yi Hao. The demon sparrow fell to the ground with his eyes still open. It was obvious that he died with his eyes wide open. Ding dong, congratulations on triggering Chain Mission 3 in advance. Destroy 7 cities. Mission completion, 1/7. Ding dong, congratulations on killing a peak expert of the fake Wu Ho. Ding dong, congratulations on obtaining 1,000 resurrection points. Congratulations on obtaining a berserk pill. Congratulations on obtaining a profound class martial skill book, 72 paths deadly fist. Congratulations on obtaining a 4th tier spirit weapon, blood-stained dual sabers. Congratulations on obtaining a 4th tier spirit weapon, blood-stained armor. The instant the demon sparrow fell to the ground, the system's notification immediately rang out. Yi Hao did not care about the system because there were still 2,000 Sparrow City soldiers below. Since the demon sparrow had died, it was better to subdue these soldiers than to kill them. The 2,000 Sparrow City soldiers felt as if their hearts had fallen to the bottom of an abyss. They had thought that their city lord had reached the peak of Wu Ho and could lead them to victory. However, before they could celebrate, the demon sparrow had died. Many of the soldiers had wanted to escape, but Li Jin had already led his men to block their path of retreat. Yi Hao was not in a hurry to speak. He coldly looked at the Sparrow City soldiers and the group of bandit leaders who had not surrendered to him. Whoever Yi Hao's gaze swept over, they immediately lowered their heads. No one dared to look at Yi Hao. Yi Hao saw that the atmosphere was about right and did not waste any more time. He shouted loudly, "Now that your city lord is dead, your families are still in Sparrow City. If you want to live, then obediently put down your weapons. Of course, if you are not afraid of death, I will gladly accompany you." Yi Hao aimed the Gatling gun at all the soldiers. As long as anyone dared to resist, he would directly use the Gatling gun. The Gatling gun could even kill Wu Ho, not to mention that most of these soldiers were martial artists. It would definitely wipe out a large group of them. Many of the soldiers had already wanted to give up resisting. When they heard Yi Hao's words, they immediately threw their weapons to the ground. Seeing that someone had taken the lead, the rest of the soldiers also threw their weapons to the ground. Since the demon sparrow was dead, what was the use of resisting? Wasn't that just courting death? Congratulations on making the right choice. Huarong and Zhang Zhu, you are in charge of imprisoning these soldiers. Yang Xiaodao and Li Jin, you guys clean up these weapons and clean up the corpses. The few of you, come with me to the city lord's residence. After Yi Hao gave the orders to the group of people, he spoke to the group of generals who had not surrendered to him. At the same time, he pointed to some of the stronger people in the demon sparrow's army and then directly walked down the city. The leaders looked at each other and had no choice but to obediently walk into the city. They had no other choice but to be slaughtered by Yi Hao. Otherwise, they did not know if they could leave this place alive. Moreover, most of their subordinates were still imprisoned in the city by Yi Hao. If they ran away like this, they would only be alone. Moreover, they did not have the courage to run away. Chapter 82. Under Yi Hao's threats and promises, the remaining bandit leaders submitted to Yi Hao obediently. This battle was definitely a huge victory for Yi Hao. He obtained close to 10,000 troops. Yi Hao also eliminated some of the old, weak, sick, and disabled. Together with the original troops of Yan Huang City, he had a total of 10,000 troops. Zhang Zhu was given 5,000 troops to guard Yan Huang City. Yang Xiaodao and Li Jin were given Kiliarchs, each leading 1,000 troops. The remaining leaders were all given the title of Centurion, each leading 100 troops. Huarong led 100 pinnacle martial artists and was in charge of Yi Hao's safety. The news of the death of the Sparrow Demon and the destruction of Sparrow City quickly spread to the cities of the remaining 6 major powers and a few of the top-ranked bandit leaders. The death of the Sparrow Demon had attracted everyone's attention. Each and every major power had sent people to investigate how the Sparrow Demon had died. Each and every major power had secretly gathered their forces. Sparrow City was a fat piece of meat that many people had been eyeing for a long time. The strongest power within a 100-mile radius was Shao City. Shao City's city lord, Shao Yun, was originally the overlord of this 100-mile radius. He was the 7th prince of Shao country. When the evil dragon appeared, the royal capital of Shao family was destroyed. Only Shao Yun was left wandering outside. When Shao Yun heard the news, he was devastated. However, there was nothing he could do. Luckily, he was forthright and had extraordinary talent. He had reached the Wu Ho realm at a young age. Therefore, with the help of his subordinates and friends, he obtained a city and named it Shao. However, the strange thing was that Shao Yun did not use his status as a prince to unify the remaining cities. Instead, he allowed them to develop. However, his position was indelible and he was basically the leader. At this moment, in the city lord residence of Shao City, there were more than 10 people sitting in the living room. If anyone saw them, they would definitely recognize that these were the overlords of this 100-mile radius. Everyone had reached the Wu Ho realm. City Lord Tan, do you know who killed the Sparrow Demon? A Tier 1 Wu Ho man asked a quiet man. Tanli waved the fan in his hand and said slowly, I heard that he was killed by a power called Yan Huang City. Even the soldiers were devoured. What is the background of this Yan Huang City? He actually managed to kill the demon sparrow. You should know that the demon sparrow had a divine pill in his hands, that's why we couldn't do anything to him for so many years. Exactly. It is said that the pill can instantly reach the peak of Wu Ho's realm. We can't let outsiders interfere with our territory. The living room was suddenly in a mess. The Sparrow Demon also had an important position in the surrounding 100 miles. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a mere 8th-level marshal general to occupy a city. It must be known that there were 10 people sitting here who had reached the initial level of Wu Ho, but they could only occupy the city and did not dare to compete with the Sparrow Demon for the city. It was because the Demon Sparrow had accidentally obtained a few divine elixirs. The demon sparrow was at the Wu Ho realm at the beginning. Once, when his life was threatened, he ate a divine elixir and instantly became a low-level martial king realm martial artist. He killed his enemy in an instant. Although the sparrow demon's cultivation had dropped to that of a martial general because of the pills, no one dared to provoke him. City Lord Xiao is here. An elegant young man walked in with 2 guards behind him. When he entered the living room, everyone immediately stood up to greet him. You all came to my residence. What's the matter? Xiao Yun walked to the master's seat and sat down, asking straightforwardly. 7th Prince. Just call me City Lord Xiao. What right does a prince of a fallen country have to be called a prince? Xiao Yun sighed and said with a trace of sadness in his eyes. City Lord Xiao, the demon sparrow has been killed. Who is it? Xiao Yun did not appear to be too concerned about the death of the demon sparrow. A new power has appeared in the evil dragon valley called Yan Huang City. Tanli was the closest to Sparrow City, so he was the most informed. He immediately stood up and replied. What? Evil Dragon Valley. Once he heard about the Evil Dragon Valley, Xiao Yun's expression instantly changed and his eyes widened. He was no longer as nonchalant as before. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Martial King Realm. So strong. When the city lords and leaders felt Xiao Yun's aura, they were all filled with shock. How long had it been? He had actually broken through and reached the Martial King Realm. Tanli felt the pressure on his body and his eyes narrowed as he looked at Xiao Yun. A trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. At the same time, a few leaders secretly glanced at Tanli with an indescribable seriousness in their eyes. Haha, I'm sorry everyone. I lost my composure a little. Xiao Yun did not notice the changes in Tanli and the others' eyes. Under the reminder of his subordinates, he immediately withdrew his aura and apologized with a smile. We wouldn't dare. Then why are you all here? Although Xiao Yun was well aware of their intentions, he still asked. What else could these people want other than to divide the power of the demon sparrow? However, he had no interest in these things. He only wanted to take revenge and cultivate diligently so that he could one day kill the evil Dragon Valley and take revenge for the Xiao family. City Lord Xiao, we are here to ask you to handle the distribution of Sparrow City. A bandit leader stood out and said. Since Sparrow City has been taken down by Yan Huang City, it naturally belongs to Yan Huang City. I believe that Yan Huang City has already sent people to occupy Sparrow City. City Lord Xiao, this isn't appropriate. Yan Huang City is just a new power. What qualifications does it have to occupy 2 cities? That's right. In our opinion, we should immediately send troops to suppress Yan Huang City. We can't let outsiders come to our territory and snatch food. Xiao Yun's words immediately caused everyone to be dissatisfied. All of them complained in exasperation. Tanli sat at the very bottom and waved the fan in his hand. Looking at the noisy crowd in front of him, his eyes were filled with schadenfreude. He was very happy to see Xiao Yun enrage everyone. Since everyone has already made their decision, why are you all here? Xiao Yun was not angry. He asked, could it be that everyone wants to use me as a tool? Everyone's expression instantly turned ugly. Your Highness, what are you saying? How would we dare to use you as a tool? It's just that our brothers treat you as our leader. That's why we asked you to make the decision for us. That's right. Tanli saw that everyone was silent. He smiled slyly and waved the fan in his hand. He stood up and said respectfully. Everyone immediately agreed. This was because only Xiao Yun could take down Yan Huang City without any risk. Sparrow City could even kill the demon sparrow, so what could they do? If Xiao Yun did not take action, they might be wiped out by Yan Huang City sooner or later. Everyone present felt a huge threat. That was why they had come to find Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun was the strongest here and was straightforward. As long as they could convince him, it would be easy to eradicate Sparrow City. Chapter 83. Since you all treat me as your leader, then take revenge for my Shao Marquis country and follow me to slay the evil dragon. I wonder who dares. Shao Yun lazily sat on the chair as he raised his eyes to glance at Tanli before sweeping his gaze over everyone. Your Highness, you must be joking. That evil dragon is at the sage level. We are like ants in front of it. How can we kill it? Tanli said with a smile. Everyone knew that dragons were extremely powerful existences. Even if the evil dragon's strength was greatly reduced, it was still not something that ordinary warriors could deal with. However, Shao Yun only wanted revenge and did not care about fame and fortune. Otherwise, another Shao Ho country would have been built long ago. A bunch of cowards! Shao Yun snorted. He looked down on these people, but he had no choice. He could not force them to die. Since you all used to be my father's subordinates, I will help you one more time. I also want to see who dares to build a city in the evil Dragon Valley. Let's go. All of you, follow me to Sparrow City. Shao Yun looked at everyone with disappointment in his eyes. He shook his head and sighed. At the same time, he was also curious about who dared to build a city in the evil Dragon Valley. Just as everyone was about to stand up, a guard barged in. Seeing that the living room was full of people, he wanted to say something but stopped. He looked at Shao Yun with a troubled expression and did not know if he should speak. What's the matter? Shao Yun looked at the guard and said. He did not mind that there were outsiders here. Yes, City Lord. Today, a group of people came to my city. To be exact, they are a group of chefs. They opened a restaurant in my city. Is there a need to report such a small matter? Shao Yun waved his hand and gestured for the guard to leave. Wait a moment, Your Highness. Tanli quickly stood up. What is the name of the restaurant? Tanli believed that the guard would definitely not report a restaurant for no reason. He quickly stopped the guard and asked. Yanhuang Tower. The guard looked at Shao Yun and replied under Shao Yun's signal. Yanhuang Tower, Yanhuang City. Tanli's eyes lit up. He guessed that there must be a connection between the two. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? If that was the case, Yanhuang City's hands were too long. Thinking of this, Tanli looked at Shao Yun and cupped his fist. Your Highness, I suspect that this Yanhuang Tower is under Yanhuang City's influence. We should take it down. There's no rush. Shao Yun motioned for Tanli to not speak. He was a straightforward person and would not casually arrest people just because their names were similar. Shao Yun looked at his guards and continued to ask, Have you investigated where they came from? Reporting to the city lord, they seem to have come from the 9th grade area. As for the others, I'm not too sure. However, it is said that their culinary skills are very good. In just half a day they swept through Shao City. Low-class level 9 area? The crowd was in an uproar. They shook their heads and sighed. This couldn't possibly be related to Yanhuang City. Although Yanhuang City was also a new city, it was a city that could kill Wu Ho. Are there any powerful people among them? Tanli asked unwillingly. No, the strongest one is a martial artist. But the strange thing is that those chefs are all very young. There are both men and women. Your Highness, I think it's better to capture them first. Regardless of whether they're related or not, we'll release them when the time comes. Although Tanli felt that the two were definitely related, he couldn't produce any evidence. Hence, he directly said this to Shao Yun. All right then. Let's surround Yanhuang restaurant first. But remember not to kill. Shao Yun nodded in agreement. Big Brother Zhao, Big Brother Qin, have you heard any news about His Highness? In Shao City's Yanhuang restaurant, Jiuhong Chestnut had become much thinner. When he saw the two youths walking in, he hurriedly stood up and asked anxiously. Zhao Yun and Qin Qiong looked at Jiuhong Chestnut with anxious faces. However, they still sighed and shook their heads in disappointment. Sigh. I wonder where His Highness has run off to. Although Johong Chestnut already knew that this would be the result, he still had a desolate look on his face when he received the answer. He looked at the sky outside anxiously. Don't worry, Miss Jiu. We've sent out most of our men. I believe that once we open Yan Huang Restaurant in every city, His Highness will definitely take the initiative to look for us. Zhao Yun comforted. At this moment, Lu Xiaofeng suddenly ran in and said breathlessly, Not good, there are soldiers surrounding our restaurant. What? I'll go take a look. When Zhao Yun heard Lu Xiaofeng's words, he was instantly enraged. He was already anxious enough that he couldn't find His Highness after so long. Now that there were actually people surrounding the restaurant, he couldn't take it anymore. He picked up his spear and walked out. Big brother Zhao. Zilong, you can't. This is no longer the country of Yi. There are some people we can't afford to offend. It's better to wait and see. Johong Chestnut and Qin Qiong hurriedly pulled Zhao Yun back. They were afraid that Zhao Yun would be impulsive and suffer a great loss. Only when they arrived in Shao City did they realize how big the outside world was. The country of Yi was the weakest place in terms of martial strength. Therefore, the average strength was very weak. Peak martial practitioners like them were still sufficient. However, when they came out, there were even martial practitioners guarding the city gates, which was a huge blow to them. When the customers in the restaurant saw that there were soldiers surrounding the restaurant, they all fled in panic. Under the orders of the city lord, we suspect that you are related to the rebels in Yan Huang City. Before the investigation is clear, no one in your restaurant is allowed to leave. Otherwise, we will kill without mercy. A group of soldiers walked in from outside the door. The leader was actually a Tier 1 Wu Ho. The leader was arrogant and spoke loudly to Johong Chestnut and the rest. Sir, is there some misunderstanding? We have just arrived at your precious place. How could we be related to the rebels? Johong Chestnut walked to the side of the leader Wu Ho with a smile. He took out some banknotes and secretly stuffed them into the leader's hand. The leader squinted his eyes and looked at the banknotes in his hand. Instantly, he smiled and said, Miss, to be honest, I feel that this matter has nothing to do with you. After all, your strength. Don't worry, our city lord Shao Yun is righteous and generous. He is definitely a good person. Once he gets to the bottom of this, he will definitely let you go. The captain looked at Zhao Yun and Qin Qiong with disdain. Although the two of them had an extraordinary aura, their strength was pitifully low. They were only in the martial warrior realm. With this strength, they might have a very good position in the level 9 and level 10 areas, but in this level 8 area, they were everywhere. However, since he had accepted the other party's money, the captain still revealed some information. In his opinion, the Yan Huang Tower and Yan Huang City were completely unrelated. Yan Huang City had even killed the Sparrow Demon. How could they be lumped together with these country bumpkins? Yan Huang City? Hearing the leader's words, Johong Chestnut looked at Zhao Yun and Qin Qiong. Zhao Yun and Qin Qiong's hearts skipped a beat. However, the few of them did not dare to show it. This Yan Huang City is not ordinary. When they first arrived, they built a city, destroyed a city, and even killed the Sparrow City Lord. Chapter 84. Big Brother Zhao, Big Brother Qin, what do you think? After sending off the captain, Johong Chestnut could not hide the excitement in her heart. I feel that it should be His Highness. That's hard to say. If it was that damn fatty, the time was when His Highness disappeared. But how could His Highness appear here in an instant? Although His Highness is strong, it's impossible for him to kill someone at the level of Wu Ho. Zhao Yun saw Johong Chestnut's delicate face and her pair of bright eyes. He could not bear to discourage her, and could only helplessly smile bitterly. That's hard to say. Qin Qiong thought hard on the side. I'll find a chance to sneak out and see if it's His Highness. This group of people had been like headless flies, running around everywhere. This time, they finally received a more reliable piece of information. Whether it was Yi Hao or not, they had to go and see. I'll go too. Jiuhong Chestnut looked pitifully at Qin Xiong, hoping that he would take her with him. No, I'll go alone. It's easy to alert the enemy with too many people. If it really is His Highness, then none of us will be able to escape. We have to pretend that nothing happened now to ensure our safety. Otherwise, when the time comes, we won't be able to help and His Highness will have to worry about us. Seeing Jiuhong Chestnut's somewhat disappointed expression, he hurriedly explained. Then Big Brother Qin, be careful. You must pay attention to your safety. Don't be discovered by Shao City's people. Jiuhong Chestnut could only give up. She knew that Qin Xiong's words were reasonable. It was already troublesome to slip away from the large group of guards outside. If he brought her along, it would be even more difficult. She urged Qin Xiong with concern. Brother Zhao, take care of Jiu Gunyang. Don't let Jiu Gunyang get hurt. I'll go and return quickly. Qin Xiong smiled and accepted Jiuhong Chestnut's words. He pulled Zhao Yun to the side and cautiously instructed. Zhao Yun nodded, remembering Qin Xiong's words. Even if Zilong risks his life, he will protect ninth young lady's safety. Brother Qin, you must be careful. If it is His Highness, you must come back quickly and tell us. Under the cover of the Jiuhong Chestnut, he attracted the attention of the guards outside the door. Qin Xiong quietly slipped out, found a random peddler, asked for the direction of Clear Sparrow City, and quickly rushed towards Sparrow City. After a few days of hard work, everything in Yanhuang City was on the right track. All the soldiers were well trained, and the army barracks had been upgraded to level 3. They could now summon soldiers of the Wu Ho realm. It was just that one soldier needed a day. At this moment, Yi Hao was lying on the ground in boredom. He looked at the 3 huge military camps in front of him. Yi Hao looked at the countdown timer above the military camp and suddenly sat up. It was finally time. After waiting bitterly for a day, the first batch of soldiers was finally coming out. Yi Hao's little face was filled with eagerness as he stared at the 3 military camps. Suddenly, the 3 military camps lit up with a dazzling white light at the same time. Yi Hao's small eyes hurt, and he hurriedly covered his eyes with his hands. After a while, the white light disappeared and Yi Hao opened his eyes. In front of the 3 military camps, there were 10 soldiers standing. Some were holding bows and arrows, some were holding spears, and there were 10 people standing beside their warhorses. They were surrounded by a murderous aura, and the aura of Wu Ho was on the verge of bursting out. Every one of them was dressed in black armor, and there was a sense of majesty between their brows. No matter how you looked at it, these 30 people were all veterans of the battlefield. This military camp was really awesome, and everyone was actually equipped with equipment. Yi Hao was wild with joy as he looked at the soldiers in front of him. With just these 30 people by his side, he would be able to gain a lot of face. Yi Hao looked at a cavalry soldier. Name: Cavalry Armor Grade. Normal Profession: Light Cavalry, Specialized, Grade, Wu Ho Rank 1 Loyalty, 100 Skill. 10 people can form a cavalry killing formation. Can kill people above their level, and is invincible under the same level. Can automatically level up. When soldiers in the military camp kill enemies, the host will not receive soul points. Soul points will be automatically replenished to the soldiers who kill the enemies, and the soldiers can automatically level up. Strong. Really too strong. 10 people could actually form a killing formation, invincible under the same level, which meant that Wu Ho would not be able to do anything under this killing formation. As for not being able to receive soul points, Yi Hao did not care too much. Anyway, the soldiers could still level up, and he did not lose out too much. He really did not waste a lot of his resources. One must know that to summon these 30 soldiers, Yi Hao felt the pinch. He had basically used up all his resources, and only managed to summon 30 people. However, to upgrade the military camp to level 4, the amount of resources needed was even more astronomical, so Yi Hao could only give up. It's time to bring the soldiers into the military camp for training. The military camp could only allow people to train when it was not upgraded and did not summon soldiers. Now that the military camp had been upgraded to level 3, it could accommodate 3,000 people for training at a time. Yi Hao left 1,000 people to guard the city. With the remaining 9,000 people, a military camp could hold 3,000 people. Choose the training time. 24 hours. Yi Hao directly chose the longest training time. As for Hua Rong and the rest, they were practicing the cultivation technique Yi Hao gave them. Everyone benefited greatly from it. As for Yi Hao, the system automatically helped him learn it after just looking at it once. One could see how powerful the system was, and by learning the 72 moves of the life-stealing fist, the use of the talent was revealed. Yang Xiaodao, Li Jin, and the rest were learning it painfully, and their progress was very slow. Hua Rong, on the other hand, was learning very smoothly, and his speed was very fast. However, this martial skill could only improve their strength and fighting skills, allowing them to use their strength better. If they wanted to improve their realm, they still had to find a cultivation technique. There were a total of 4 levels of cultivation techniques and martial skills in the Myriad Kingdom continent. They were Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow. Above them were the Saint and Divine rank. In these low-level 8 and 9 areas, it was already very good to have a yellow rank martial skill, and they were basically all low-grade ones. Cultivation techniques were even rarer. Most martial artists relied on training or cultivating martial skills to slightly improve their cultivation. However, their future was limited. There was no one like Yi Hao who directly took out a profound rank cultivation technique. Even if there were, they would secretly cultivate it themselves, not to mention directly giving it to their subordinate. This made Yi Hao's image in the hearts of Yang Xiaodao and the rest even more mysterious. As for the experts in Wu Ho within a radius of 100 miles, they used to be generals of the Shao Ho Empire. They all had the cultivation techniques of the Shao Ho Empire. After the destruction of the Shao Ho Empire, the cultivation techniques were all destroyed. These people could only rely on the incomplete cultivation techniques in their minds to cultivate. Yang Xiaodao and the rest felt that this was the happiest time. Everyone had a spirit artifact in their hands, cultivated a profound rank martial skill, and had a group of subordinates. This kind of life was much better than being a bandit on the mountain. Yi Hao's appearance gave them hope to become stronger. In the Myriad Kingdom continent, the strong were worshipped. Becoming stronger was the wish of every martial artist. This was also the reason why some people were willing to be bandits in a small place and become guards at the city gate. They were unwilling to go to a lower-level region for the sake of riches and honor. Everyone wanted to go to a stronger region. The higher the level of the region, the stronger one's martial strength would be. Chapter 85. A young man is looking for me? Who is it? Yi Hao was very curious. Was there anyone he knew here? Yi Hao narrowed his eyes and pondered. At this time, those who could find him were either enemies or enemies. However, to be able to come alone made Yi Hao very curious. Yan Huang City's reputation had spread far and wide. Wu Ho's pinnacle sparrow demon had been killed, yet this person still dared to come to his city. This meant that this person was very courageous or very strong. Let's go and take a look. Yi Hao waved his small hand and led 30 martial marquis soldiers towards the city gate in a grandiose manner. The 30 soldiers were divided into 3 small teams. As they walked, the black armor on their bodies emitted a metallic sound. Each of the soldiers had a tiger's eyes and a bear's waist. They were very intimidating. Some of the patrolling soldiers had fearful gazes when they saw them. Just the aura of these 30 soldiers was enough to crush all the other soldiers. Even Hua Rong and the rest kept glancing at the 30 soldiers. Their gazes were serious. All of them worked even harder to practice their martial techniques, afraid that they would lose their status in front of Yi Hao. "Who are you? Why are you looking for me?" Yi Hao stood on the city wall and looked down at the elegant young man as he asked lazily. Although he looked lazy, he was very shocked. As Yi Hao had used the probing technique, he easily knew the strength of the young man. Xiao Yun identity. City Lord of Xiao City rank. First tier martial king age. 23 constitution. Supreme grade martial body quality. Supreme grade friendliness. 60-inch eye. Xiao Yun, am just a small city lord here to pay a visit to the Yan Huang city lord. Seems like you are the Yan Huang city lord, little brother. You have really impressed me. To be able to become a city lord at such a young age, I am impressed, Xiao Yun said politely with a smile. Xiao Yun waited for a long time. When he heard Yi Hao speak, he was slightly stunned. He had not expected the city lord of Yan Huang City to be a child. Xiao Yun secretly probed Yi Hao's strength, but found that Yi Hao was as calm as the surface of water. Xiao Yun was inwardly astonished. Could it be that the strength of this lazy-looking youth was above his? Xiao Yun was starting to doubt his own life. When he saw the black armored guards behind Yi Hao, he was even more shocked. This group of people was nowhere to be found within a radius of 100 miles. The murderous aura they exuded made him feel a little absent-minded. "So it's City Lord Xiao. Please come to my residence and have a seat." Yi Hao immediately noticed that Xiao Yun was probing him. However, with the hidden martial arts, Yi Hao didn't care at all. When he saw the change in Xiao Yun's eyebrows, Yi Hao didn't point it out. "Thank you, but there's no need for that." Xiao Yun's gaze changed as he looked at the city in front of him. Intense hatred appeared in his eyes, but because Yi Hao was here, he immediately put it away and thanked him with a smile. Yi Hao instantly sensed the murderous aura on Xiao Yun's body. However, he could feel that this strong murderous aura wasn't directed at him. It seemed to be directed at the lake. Yi Hao glanced at Xiao Yun before turning to look at the lake. Yi Hao narrowed his eyes. After meditating for a while, he quickly got an answer. "It seems that little brother knows that I am the original prince of this place." When Xiao Yun saw Yi Hao's thoughtful expression, he knew that Yi Hao had guessed his identity. A trace of loneliness appeared in his eyes, and the smile on his face was indescribably forced. "I swore that I would never go near Evil Dragon Valley without the strength to slay an evil dragon. I have already made an exception today. However, I can't enter the valley. I'm afraid that I won't be able to control myself." The moment he spoke, a teardrop inadvertently slid down Xiao Yun's face. Even he didn't notice it. "I've made a fool of myself." Xiao Yun shook his head with a bitter smile and apologized to Yi Hao. "My name is Yi Hao. I wonder why Brother Xiao has made an exception to come to Evil Dragon Valley?" Yi Hao realized that Xiao Yun didn't have any enmity towards him. He was even more curious as to why Xiao Yun had made an exception to come to Yan Huang City. Who would believe that he was here to visit? "Brother Yi, to be honest, I'm curious as to who could kill the Sparrow Demon. Although the Sparrow Demon was the weakest, he had a type of immortal medicine that could raise his strength instantly. It can be said that he is unrivaled under me." As he spoke, Xiao Yun's actions revealed his confidence. "All the reputable people within 100 miles have come to my residence to ask me to eliminate you. Although I don't want to be associated with them, they used to be my father's subordinates. I can only help them." Xiao Yun spoke frankly and didn't hide anything from Yi Hao. "Oh, so Brother Xiao is here to eliminate me?" Yi Hao asked teasingly. "Brother Yi, you must be joking. I won't be used by them." Xiao Yun smiled and shook his head. No one could understand what he was trying to do. "I wonder if Brother Yi knows of Yan Huang Tower?" As Xiao Yun spoke, he stared at Yi Hao carefully. He wanted to see if Yi Hao's expression would change. When Yi Hao heard Yan Huang Tower, His lazy aura instantly disappeared. His eyes narrowed. I wonder how Brother Xiao knows of Yan Huang Tower. As he spoke, Yi Hao's expression turned cold. He had already secretly taken out the Gatling gun. Seeing Yi Hao's change, Xiao Yun revealed a knowing expression. He smiled and said, Brother Yi, you don't have to be nervous. They are in my city now. It seems like they are really related to Brother Yi. You're threatening me. Yi Hao seemed to have been touched. He stared at Xiao Yun and frowned. He didn't hide his killing intent at all. I don't care about using underhanded methods like threatening people. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here. I really did send my subordinates to protect them. You should know that those city lord leaders are capable of doing anything. With my people protecting them, they'll be a lot safer. Xiao Yun wasn't angry as he spoke with a pleasant expression. However, Xiao Yun was very satisfied with Yi Hao's performance. He treated his men well. Such a person was worth making friends with. I wonder if Brother Yi is willing to make friends with me. Of course I am. It hurts. Tomorrow I will send your men to you. Sparrow City will also belong to you. Brother Xiao, aren't you afraid that the other city leaders will be dissatisfied? I believe that even if they are dissatisfied, they won't dare to do anything. Brother Yi, I have prepared some good wine. I wonder if you have any dishes? Come out of the city and have a drink with me. Xiao Yun raised the wine jug at his waist and shook it. I'll be happy to. Yi Hao found that Xiao Yun was straightforward and worth making friends with. Moreover, his talent was extraordinary. It was a good choice to have such a friend. Yi Hao ordered people to open the city gates and prepare some simple dishes. The two of them didn't care if the ground was dirty or not and directly sat on the ground. Xiao Yun passed the wine jug to Yi Hao. Yi Hao took a sip and said, although this wine is helpful for martial arts, the alcohol content is too weak. It's not something a man should drink. After Yi Hao finished speaking, a bottle of erguotu appeared in his hand under Xiao Yun's suspicious gaze. Brother Xiao, try this. Drink slower. Cough. Chapter 86. Good wine. Although this wine can't increase one's martial strength, it is definitely the best wine I have ever tasted. If I can add some spiritual herbs, it will definitely be a masterpiece. After Xiao Yun finished coughing, he held back the joy in his heart. He couldn't help but take another sip. This time, it wasn't as hurried as before. Xiao Yun sighed as he felt the burning sensation in his throat. He closed his eyes and felt the wine flowing through his organs. At the same time, he hugged the erguotu tightly in his arms and looked at Yi Hao vigilantly, afraid that Yi Hao would snatch it from him. Hearing Xiao Yun's words, Yi Hao knew that this erguotu would definitely be popular in the 10,000 Kingdoms continent. Adding the spiritual herbs into the wine immediately enlightened Yi Hao. That's right. Why didn't I think of that? I have the recipe for erguotu. If I can learn how to extract the spiritual herbs and add them into the wine, then wouldn't I be able to create a wine with martial strength? Seeing Xiao Yun's expression as if he had obtained a treasure, Yi Hao was secretly delighted. He was thankful that he didn't exchange for a better wine. This was the most ordinary wine. If it was a better wine, Yi Hao couldn't imagine what Xiao Yun would be like. The current Xiao Yun had already thrown away the image of a young master. He had the appearance of a drunkard. He drank a mouthful of wine and closed his eyes to enjoy it. Yi Hao smiled as he exchanged for a few more bottles of erguotu from the system. After all, it wasn't worth much reputation points. After subduing so many bandits and killing the Sparrow Demon, Yi Hao had obtained a large amount of reputation points. With such good wine, I want to stay by Brother Ye's side. I don't even want to go back, Xiao Yun said with a smile. That's exactly what I want. Yi Hao also laughed heartily. He was very tempted by Xiao Yun's words. To be able to tie such a genius to his side was exactly what he wanted. If I kill the evil dragon one day, I will definitely rely on Brother Yi, Xiao Yun said as he fiercely drank a mouthful of wine. Ordinary wine like theirs could be refined with martial energy, but Xiao Yun didn't do so. Perhaps getting drunk was something he wished for. Every day, the scene of the evil dragon destroying the Shao Empire's imperial city would appear in his mind. Brother Xiao, do you know why the evil dragon hides in the evil dragon valley lake, not coming out? Yi Hao finally asked the question he was most concerned about. For so long, he had always wanted to know why the evil dragon had disappeared after entering the lake and had not come out until now. Brother Yi, you may not know this, but there was a formation grandmaster in my Shao clan. After he passed away, he left behind a holy treasure called the Dragon Prison Lake, which can be big or small. After the ancestor passed away, the Dragon Prison Lake disappeared, waiting for the next generation of director to wake it up. This wait lasted for thousands of years. Only our Shao clan's core disciples know about this matter from the clan's history. It has already been forgotten by others. Originally, I also thought that the Dragon Prison Lake was just a legend. After all, it had been too long since anyone found the location of the Dragon Prison Lake. Only when the evil dragon entered the lake and didn't come out did I guess that the lake in the evil dragon valley might be the legendary Dragon Prison Lake. Sacred artifact. Dragon Prison Lake. Yi Hao's eyes lit up. He was extremely envious of the Dragon Prison Lake. That was a sacred artifact that could even trap a sage. If Xiao Yun had not said it, Yi Hao would never have believed that the huge lake in the valley was actually a sacred artifact. In the 10,000 Kingdoms continent, spiritual artifacts were precious enough. Spiritual artifacts were divided into 10 ranks. Even the lowest ranked spiritual artifact was precious enough. Some people would not have lived in vain if they could obtain a spiritual artifact in their lifetime. Above spiritual artifacts were honorable artifacts. Above honorable artifacts were emperor artifacts. Above emperor artifacts were sacred artifacts. Sacred artifacts only existed in the hands of martial sage experts and were extremely precious. Who would have thought that there would be a sacred artifact in this small, unknown valley? And there was even a saint-level evil dragon trapped within it. Don't think about it. Sacred artifacts have spirits and will automatically recognize a master. This Dragon Prison Lake has been here for thousands of years, and it has never recognized a new master. If I had not accidentally discovered that the evil dragon was trapped, I would not have discovered that this lake was Dragon Prison Lake. Qin Yun glanced at Yi Hao and did not hesitate to attack him. Yi Hao rolled his eyes at Qin Yun. However, after thinking about it, it made sense. If sacred artifacts were so easy to obtain, they would not have been here for thousands of years. Sacred artifacts in the 10,000 Kingdoms continent would not be so precious. However, because the level of this area was too low, no experts would come here. Naturally, no one would discover that the lake in the valley was a sacred artifact. Since the evil dragon is trapped, why don't you go and kill it? Yi Hao looked at Qin Yun in confusion. Do you think that the evil dragon is so easy to kill? Qin Yun looked at Yi Hao bitterly. Although Dragon Prison Lake can trap enemies, it cannot kill them. Although the evil dragon is trapped, it can still release its own strength. Yi Hao ignored Xiao Yun's gaze. His heart tightened as he asked worriedly, then what if the evil dragon cultivates in Dragon Prison Lake and breaks through? Wouldn't it be able to break out of Dragon Prison Lake? The evil dragon was a sage beast. It had been so many years. If the evil dragon were to force its way out of Dragon Prison Lake, Yanhuang City would be the first to be destroyed. Yi Hao believed that he did not have the strength to deal with a sage beast. That is also possible. Xiao Yun was taken aback as he looked at Yi Hao's nervous face. He laughed in his heart and nodded in agreement with Yi Hao. Where are you going? Xiao Yun turned his head and saw that Yi Hao had stood up to leave. He hurriedly asked, Moving. Yi Hao blurted out these two words. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. For a broken city, I, Yi Hao, will not do that. At most, I will go and snatch another city. After all, there are plenty of cities out there. Hey, don't be anxious. Let me finish. Xiao Yun pulled Yi Hao back with a face full of black lines. He could not understand. Yi Hao was not worried at all when he was building the city. Why would he suddenly want to move? Sit down first. Then tell me quickly. Yi Hao had no intention of leaving. He sat on the ground and looked at Xiao Yun with anticipation. He revealed a smile as though he had succeeded in his scheme. You. Xiao Yun knew that he had not managed to scare Yi Hao. Instead, he had been teased by Yi Hao. He shook his head with a bitter smile and did not blame him. Although this dragon prison lake does not have any attack power, it has isolated all cultivation power. In other words, it is impossible to cultivate in the dragon prison lake. Therefore, if the evil dragon wanted to cultivate, it would definitely not be able to break through the dragon prison lake. Furthermore, the evil dragon is heavily injured. Otherwise, it would not have come to this low-level area. It is extremely difficult for it to recover from its injuries in the dragon prison lake. The evil dragon has lived for so many years and has to rely on the power in its body to stabilize its injuries. Therefore, the evil dragon's strength has been decreasing and not increasing. Xiao Yun said slowly. He knew the use of the dragon prison lake from his family's history. If there was anyone to blame, it was the evil dragon's bad luck. It originally wanted to find a small place to recover from its injuries, but it ended up asking for trouble. It barged into the sacred artifact and was trapped instead. If the evil dragon was at its peak, it would definitely have noticed the abnormality in the lake. However, it could only be blamed for being too impatient. It hurriedly destroyed the only city in the valley. It was afraid of being discovered by the enemy and directly plunged into the dragon prison lake. Chapter 87. Your Highness, what's the situation? Within Sparrow City, Tanli and the rest were waiting anxiously. Seeing the white-robed Xiao Yun return on horseback, a group of people immediately came out of the city gates to welcome him. They all looked at Xiao Yun with anticipation. Leader, did you destroy Yan Huang's city and obtain a complete victory? A leader looked at Xiao Yun anxiously. The rest were also full of smiles as they looked at Xiao Yun with anticipation. They wanted to know the answer. Burp, Xiao Yun stopped his horse and burped. In the future, no one is allowed to find trouble with Yan Huang's city. Brother Yi and I hit it off. If you find trouble with him, it's the same as finding trouble with me. Don't blame me for being impolite at that time, Xiao Yun said coldly as he looked at the crowd impatiently. After Xiao Yun warned the crowd, he did not care about their expressions and left on his horse. At the same time, he held a bottle of erguotu in his hand. The crowd was stunned and did not know what had happened. Everyone, you have all seen Xiao Yun's attitude. Whether you agree with my decision or not, it's up to you. Tanli looked at the back of Xiao Yun's horse and was secretly delighted. Xiao Yun, you are courting death. You can't blame me. The crowd looked at each other. Thinking of Xiao Yun's attitude and the conditions that Tanli had promised, they all nodded in agreement. We will follow City Lord Tan's decision. At this time, a guard on horseback galloped over and stopped in front of Tanli. He got off his horse and whispered in Tanli's ear. Tanli's face immediately lit up. Brothers, our chance is here. Everyone, follow me to Tanji City. On the road to Yan Huang City, a beautiful girl was riding a red horse at high speed. Behind her were two Martial King experts. It was Mu Qingyu, who had come to find Yi Hao. Because of this, they had managed to find out the news first. They could not wait and wanted to reach Yan Huang City before Li Ba and the rest. Miss, this should be Yan Huang City. It's just that I didn't expect that bastard from the Li family to come to such a small place. He was even killed in such a low-level place. a young martial king said flatteringly to Mu Qingyu. He looked at Mu Qingyu's beautiful back and gulped. But looking at the city in front of him, his eyes were filled with disdain. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to pursue Mu Qingyu, he wouldn't have come to such a broken place. Yes, Uncle Chun, can I trouble you to call the door? Mu Qingyu's cold expression didn't change as she spoke softly to the middle-aged martial king. No need, let me do it. Without waiting for the middle-aged martial king to speak, Wu Jixiao immediately wanted to show off. He smiled and rode forward. When Mu Qingyu saw Wu Jixiao's reaction, she frowned slightly, but she didn't stop him. After all, they were outside and she couldn't be too calculative. Gatekeepers, call your city lord out. My time is precious and you can't afford to waste it. Wu Jixiao stopped his horse at the city gate and shouted arrogantly. His eyes were full of disdain. He didn't even put Yan Huang City in his eyes. In his opinion, as long as he wanted to, he could destroy this city at any time. If Mu Qingyu wasn't here, he wouldn't even be bothered to speak to these people. Some low-level martial artists were like ants in his eyes. Wu Jixiao, Mu Qingyu shouted. She was here to thank him, but Wu Jixiao's attitude made her very unhappy. The disgust in her eyes deepened. Miss, there's no need to be so polite when talking to these trash. Wu Jixiao didn't dare to refute Mu Qingyu, afraid that she would be angry. But he still whispered. In his opinion, these trash still wanted to curry favor with him with his attitude. The fact that he was talking to these ants was already giving them face. Who dares to be so arrogant and make a ruckus in my Yan Huang City? Yi Hao was reported by his subordinates and immediately ascended the city. He frowned and looked at the three people below and asked. Yi Hao didn't know this without using his detection technique. Once he used it, he was shocked. The three people below were all martial kings. Yi Hao was very puzzled. What's wrong with today? Are martial kings so worthless? I just sent Brother Xiao away, and here comes a beauty. Where did this ungrateful child come from? Quickly invite your city lord. Say that 3 martial king experts have arrived and ask him to kneel and welcome them. Wu Jixiao heard the source of the voice and saw Yi Hao. He couldn't help but lose his temper and said arrogantly. How dare you, this is our city lord. Yang Xiaodao shouted angrily. Although he was a little afraid when he heard martial kings, as long as someone dared to be disrespectful to Yi Hao, even if a martial sage was here, he wouldn't be afraid and would dare to scold them loudly. You guys don't know what's good for you. Wu Jixiao was furious. He didn't expect that people from such a small place would dare to refute his words. He angrily released his martial king aura and suppressed Yi Hao and the others. Yi Hao felt the pressure on his body and his eyes darkened. Although he didn't know the background of these 3 people, Wu Jixiao's attitude and actions made Yi Hao furious. The pressure on his body made him feel the blood in his body boil, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of Yang Xiaodao's mouth. Yi Hao thought and took the Gatling gun in his hand. He wanted to kill the 3 people when they weren't paying attention. Sure, trash. Let's see how long you can last. Wu Jixiao saw the anger on Yi Hao and the others' faces and felt even more proud. However, Yi Hao's gaze made him feel uncomfortable. He scolded angrily and wanted to use an even stronger pressure. Enough! With a delicate shout, a powerful force burst out from Mu Qingyu's body and instantly dispersed Wu Jixiao's pressure. Get out of here! Mu Qingyu didn't expect Wu Jixiao to be so domineering and said to him coldly. Why didn't you hear what I said? Seeing Wu Jixiao standing there motionless, Mu Qingyu frowned and glared at him. The anger in her heart was self-evident. If there weren't outsiders here, she would definitely teach him a lesson. Yi Hao suppressed the anger in his heart. He wanted to see what Mu Qingyu and the others wanted to do. If it weren't for Mu Qingyu's attitude, Yi Hao definitely wouldn't let Wu Jixiao off, even if he was a martial king. This subordinate doesn't dare. Wu Jixiao gritted his teeth and said unwillingly. Although he didn't understand why the young miss would speak up for these ants and even get angry with him for them, he still didn't understand. Wu Jixiao glared fiercely at Yi Hao. It was because of these trash that the young miss blamed him. So it's just a barking dog. Didn't you hear your master's order? Why aren't you wagging your tail and admitting your mistake? Yi Hao looked at Wu Jixiao's murderous gaze and said disdainfully. Immediately, the soldiers burst into laughter. Where did this young girl come from? Even her guards are martial kings. How can we, the people who are struggling, live? Yi Hao cursed in his heart. At the same time, he was curious about the young girl's identity and why she had come to find him. Chapter 88. Polite? Who was the one who came up and didn't know what was right and wrong? Who was the one who used martial Dao pressure and didn't apologize? Now you're telling me to be polite? Beauty, is your brain damaged? Yi Hao looked at Mu Qingyu with disgust. Hearing the girl's words, Yi Hao's last bit of good impression of her disappeared. He thought the girl might be different from the youth, but he didn't expect them to be the same kind of trash. You! Mu Qingyu's face turned red from Yi Hao's words. You what? If you have something to say, then say it. Old Hao doesn't have time to play with you. My time is precious. Mu Qingyu was enraged by Yi Hao's words. Ever since she was young, no one dared to scold her, let alone a child. But when she thought about Yi Hao's words, she knew she was in the wrong, but she couldn't put down her pride and apologize. Humph, I came to help you out of goodwill. Since you don't know how to appreciate kindness, let's go. Mu Qingyu didn't stay any longer. She turned her horse around and left. It seemed like she was really angry and didn't want to talk to Yi Hao anymore. Wu Jixiao's face was filled with joy as he hurriedly chased after her. Only the middle-aged martial king was left. He sighed and cupped his fist towards Yi Hao in a friendly manner. Then he turned his horse around and chased after Mu Qingyu. Ji Xiao, this child is too arrogant. She will suffer sooner or later. I didn't expect that after so many years, Second Miss would be angered to this extent. She didn't even do the most important thing. The middle-aged martial king shook his head and smiled bitterly. A bunch of crazy people. You still want to help me? Old Hao doesn't need a girl like you to help him. Do you think I'm a child that's easy to bully? You have nothing better to do than to come here and make your presence known. Yi Hao looked at the three people's backs and rolled his eyes. Eat this pill. Seeing that there was blood at the corner of Yang Xiaodao's mouth, he took out a Jinchuang medicine and threw it to Yang Xiaodao. Thank you, master. Yang Xiaodao caught it and swallowed it. Yi Hao turned around and looked into the distance. He rubbed his chin with his small hand and frowned, revealing a thoughtful expression. He did not completely ignore the girl's words. He had a feeling that something big was about to happen these past few days. He originally thought that it had something to do with the Sparrow Demon, but after the Sparrow Demon was killed, that feeling did not disappear. Instead, it became even more intense, and now that he and Qin Yun had become friends, the remaining people in a 50-kilometer radius were no longer a threat to him. If a martial king was willing to help, then the enemy must be at least a martial king. Yi Hao's gaze swept across the mountain range in front of him. Suddenly, his gaze stopped on a mountain that was shaped like a small fish. His expression changed as he roughly guessed where the problem was. Yi Hao suddenly recalled the words of the head of Mount Xiaoyu before he died. His father was a martial king. Could it be that the head of Mount Xiaoyu's father had come to seek revenge? At that time, he didn't pay much attention to it. This was a remote area. Who would notice if he killed someone? It seemed that he had been too naive. This was a different world, and anything was possible. I didn't expect to be discovered so quickly. Yi Hao shook his head and smiled bitterly. Inside Tanji City. In the city lord residence, Tanli and the rest were respectfully receiving three distinguished guests. Tanli and the rest had a fawning look on their faces. They were respectful towards the 3 people seated at the top and did not dare to be careless. Master Ba, please enjoy your meal. If we are not taking good care of you, please forgive us. The 3 people seated were Li Ba and the rest. They had come to Tanji City to inquire about the situation and were invited to the residence by Tanli. I have important matters to attend to. Let's put aside the food and drinks. Li Ba did not accept the favor from Tanli and the rest. This was because he looked down on these people. As an expert, he had to have the dignity of an expert. Master Ba, don't be anxious. We have already inquired about the matter. Your young master was killed by the people of Yanhuang City. Anyway, Yanhuang City cannot escape. You and these 2 brothers are tired from the journey. You should rest well. Tanli was not angry. He gave a look to the servants. Soon, a few enchanting and sexy beauties came in and started dancing. Master Ba, Brother Tan is right. We have been on the road for so many days. It is time for a good rest. That's right, 8th Master. Yanhuang City can't run away. We can't let Brother Tan's good intentions go to waste. When the 2 subordinates saw the beauties, their eyes were filled with lust. They swallowed their saliva and pleaded to Li Ba. Look, these 2 brothers are tired. Master Ba should rest. Tanli smiled apologetically. All right then. As long as we don't delay Master's matters, it's fine. Li Ba frowned and thought that what they said made sense. He was also tempted. He looked at the enchanting dancers and was also tempted. He looked at Tanli with a friendly gaze. Li Ba pulled the 2 dancers into his arms and asked Tanli, "Tell me about the situation in Yanhuang City." Yes. Tanli nodded quickly. An imperceptible sneer flashed across his lip. Xiao Yun. Even the heavens are helping me. I can make use of these 3 to get rid of you and Yanhuang City. At that time, this 100-kilometer area will belong to me, Tanli, alone. Reporting to Master Ba, Yanhuang City is a new power. They don't have any strong experts. To be precise, they are just a motley crew. According to my investigation, your young master is the leader of Mount Xiaoyu. He is the first power to be eradicated by Yanhuang City. It is said that the city lord of Yanhuang City is a child who is not even 10 years old. However, he has a powerful weapon that can shoot out countless hidden weapons. Previously, one of our city lords was injured by that weapon. A weapon that can shoot countless hidden weapons? I am really interested. Li Ba revealed an interested expression. When the time came, he could destroy Yanhuang City and snatch the weapon. This trip would not be in vain. However, Li Ba did not completely believe Tanli. No matter how powerful a weapon was, how many hidden weapons could it shoot? He only thought that Tanli was exaggerating. Continue. Li Ba was very happy being fed by the 2 beauties. He signaled for Tanli to continue. Master Ba, Yanhuang City is nothing to be afraid of. The main thing is... Tanli purposely stopped halfway so that Li Ba could ask. His face showed that he was in a difficult position. Speak. Li Ba impatiently shouted. He raised his eyebrows and stared at Tanli. The main problem is Xiao Yun of Xiao City. This person has reached the strength of a first-level martial king. He is on good terms with the city lord of Yanhuang City. I am afraid that Xiao Yun will not know what is good for him, and will come out to cause trouble. Tanli finally revealed his foxtail. In his opinion, his greatest enemy was Xiao Yun. As long as he killed Xiao Yun, he would have a day of success. As for Yanhuang City, he did not care about it at all. Under his signal, the remaining city lords and leaders cooperated with Tanli. They made it sound as though Xiao Yun was on the same side as Yanhuang City, angering the heavens and the people. A mere first-level martial king. Get him to come see me. Otherwise, I will slaughter his entire city. Li Ba slammed his palm on the table and snorted disdainfully. To be honest, Master Ba, I have already informed Xiao Yun. However, That brat does not know what is good for him and will not come. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.